is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series playoffs have reached the final stop for half of our championship field, as at the conclusion of tonight's Dover 200, we'll know the 4-car championship grid that is due up for that winner-take-all finale in 2 weeks' time from tonight at Homestead, Miami. Michael Conti's been locked in. That's courtesy of a win a few weeks back at Darlington, but most notably a win by Matt Busa 2 weeks ago has also punched his ticket into the championship 4. So, as we get set to go racing tonight for the Monster Mile, let's recap that win with this week's iRacing Race Recap from Atlanta. The pace car is going to dive down in this time. As always, we're happy that you're spending a Tuesday night with us at RaceSpotTV and the iRacing Esports Network. Michael Conti, your only playoff winner thus far. He looks to get another one as we go green flag racing from Atlanta. The third race of 4 in the round of 8 is green on these NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series playoffs. And as we get up to the gears for the first time, already a change for position up front. Nice slick move. Brian Schoenberg takes second away from Davies as they head down the back for the first time.
On the first run, or first stint under green for Michael Conti, and he's flying by guys. Brand new tires meanwhile here in Atlanta.
Certainly, you'll see just how fast he is. Now, the risk Conti takes by pitting early is, again, he is a lap down. The car he just passed, 18th position to Bobby Zalenski. The next car he's going to pass. Look how fast he comes up. There goes Blake Reynolds. There goes Phil Diaz. It's incredible how much faster you are on the fresh tires, but Conti's got a long way to go to unlap himself. Look at that to the outside on the 27 machine, making all these cars look like a joke. That's because the slowest lap that we saw to Mike Conti before he came down to the pit lane and got those fresh tires was a 41.2 on the entry, but it was 31.6 under the green flag at full speed. Right now, 29.6. You're talking about 2 seconds a lap, and look at him blow by all these cars. Just now passing Luza, who's in P10. Once the 5 passes your race leader, he'll be in the clear. But there's always a risk if a caution flag comes out now. He gets trapped a lap down. This is a ton of fun to watch, though, as we're on board with him. When you get this late into a run, and I don't think Logan Clampett's been any more than 2 car lengths away as the 13 spins. Brad Davies going to come back up into traffic. He'll collect Corey Vincent, the 11 of Colton Davis, and involved is championship competitor Keegan Leahy. You see the damage on the number 24 Chevrolet. That's exactly that little bit of extra spark. We had talked about it. You mentioned with Conti last year, just missing a cut. We've seen it already this year with Clampett missing out on the playoffs to go on to get that first win of the season at Indianapolis. As race leaders are on pit road, looks like Busa was the first one to pull the trigger. So inside of 50 laps to go, cars are headed down pit road. We'll watch the battle for the race lead to see if any of these two decide to come down, Tim. But to the point I was going to make there, maybe that missing the playoffs has put a little bit of a drive and some extra passion in Logan Clampett as he passes by the pit lane entry. Another lap. The 5 of Conti does come in from second, and Ray Alfaro makes up a ton of time and closes in on the entry. He's right there with the 5 car. Matt Busa is going to be the driver who would cycle through to the race lead. That is if he could maintain right now what is P5. Because again, I said Conti was able to beat Clampett off the pit road, but Ottinger beat him and Busa beat him. So those 3 cars you're looking at right now, that is P5, 6, and 7. And in no more than a couple of laps, that's going to become the battle for first, second, and third. And they are all on top of each other. They were much more spread out than they are now. I have a feeling that these drivers are going to be going at it any moment. The 5's not going to have that preferred lane, so this may be it for the 34 Busa. He gets the run coming off the corner number 2, and it is going to be a successful defense of the race lead, and that's why I think Busa leaving the inside wide open. You saw how fast Conti was up top. That 5 car gets on your outside. I think forget about it. I think that is the line that Conti would like to get to. It's just so difficult to force your way to somebody's outside. Obviously, it's the long way around the racetrack. You need quite a run to be able to go up there, so you'll see Busa leave the inside open. 5 goes down there, gets alongside it, but he can't make it stick off the corner. And I think Busa's thinking, hey, if Conti wants to go down there and eat up his tires every lap, feel free. I'm fine right now in the middle.
And keep an eye on Fayash. Fresher tires for the 77, but I think he's going to let these guys battle it out for that top spot. The one thing Conti's not doing on that inside line is having that 4-wheel drift and having that slide, letting that rear end get out from underneath him. The last 2 times through corner number 4, he's been perfect on that inside line. The 34 of Busa doing all he can on the outside, but also giving a little bit of respect to the 5 of Conti and letting him run on the inside, letting him operate and try to take away the battle for the lead. But the 34 of Matt Busa may lose it here. The 5 gets a great run at a 2. The 34 gets a great run down the straightaway. They'll continue to be side by side, but Busa's going to have to dig deep here on lap 150 because Conti looks like he's got to run. He'll point it to the outside, down into corners number 1 and 2, gets that thing sideways on the outside, nearly kisses the wall in corner number 1 as he tries to take away the lead from Busa, but he'll get that run off of turn 2. Look at that run. Will he go to the inside here? Sticks in behind the 34 of Busa, put that in the memory bank, put that in the back pocket. That will definitely work, that run off 1 and 2. If he can get another one here, he is close on that 34 of Busa. The question is, can he get another run here off corner number 2 with 2 laps to go? This might be the best opportunity that he has. He'll go to that extreme outside. He'll lose a little bit on entry, but look at this run he's going to get off corner number 2 down the back.
The runoff of 2 has been so good, and it's a massive one. He's going to get to Busa. Does he make a move? Yes. To the inside as they head to quarter number 3. White flag is going to fly this next time by, and I think Busa is going to be able to hold strong on the outside. He will, and they'll come to 1 lap left to go from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. A pass to the championship 4 on the line for the 34 of Matt Busa. Lap traffic in front. Not going to be a factor. The 5 of Michael Conti, a car length short, but a bobble. Conti gets sideways at a corner number 2, and he's not going to be able to get to him. That mistake going to be the final nail in the coffin, and Matt Busa clear by 5 car lengths off of turn number 4. He'll go for the win at Atlanta and a ticket punch to Homestead. Matt Busa gonna fight for a peak Antifreeze title in 2018.
Oh, that was late.
Hey guys! This week, the 6 on my team are Truex, Logano, Larson, Blaney, Chase, and Suarez. For the rest of you, better luck next week.
She's missing out, dude. Yeah.
The all-new NASCAR Fantasy Live. Visit NASCAR.com/fantasy and build your team today.
Tonight from the virtual Dover International Speedway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the round of 8 elimination race and the penultimate round of the 2018 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series. 6 drivers' fates still remain to be determined, and with only 2 spots left on the championship 4 grid, we welcome you into what's sure to be a thrilling night of action on RaceSpotTV. in the iRacing Esports Network. We're alongside of myself, Evan Pasoko, joined by Tim Terry upstairs with you this evening. Our director, Hugo Luis, is bringing us to you. Tim, one more to go until it gets real in 2 weeks' time, and there are 2 spots left, and that shot at $10,000.
And as you mentioned, it's going to get very real for a few drivers here this evening. Conti and Busa locked in to that final showdown. We're going to lock 2 more in. 4 are going to leave here disappointed, and they're getting ready to grid to roll off for this 200-lap affair.
200 laps at the Monster Mile, but you mentioned that championship picture headed into the scene. Both Michael Conti and Matt Busa, courtesy of Race Wins. Again, there's the look at the championship grid. They are locked in. We will see them at Homestead, Miami, but everybody else at the left-hand side of your screen with a plus or minus interval not guaranteed yet. Again, right now, Luza looks pretty good. Alfala a little bit tighter than back to Nick Ottinger. If you're Leahy, Zelensky, Shelton, though, you're almost in. You have to win position, and that's why even Luza at plus 36 cannot be considered locked in on a point yet, because a win by any of those drivers bumps them right up with Conti and Busa. So certainly we could see any of those 6 drivers get onto the grid, but some of them get to start out in a lot better position than others. And speaking about starting, the field rolls off for the pit lane. Let's go trackside and take a look at your RaceSpotTV starting grid. Corey Vincent will start this one on the pole position. He's going to be joined on the outside. That's the 24 of Keegan Leahy. Michael Conti and Nick Ottinger make up row 2 to be 3rd and 4th, respectively, with Brad Davies rounding out your top 5.
Ryan Luza in 6th, Taylor Hurst 7th, Logan Clampett has been strong the last few races. He'll start 8th, Ray Alfala in 9th, and Brian Schoenberg 10th.
Continuing through, Casey Kerwin, Christian Challoner 11-12, with Michael Gass 13th, Zach Novak 14th, and Chris Sherburne finds himself about middle of the pack. He'll roll 15th position of this 29-car grid. Rest of the running order going to cycle through at the bottom of your screen. A little bit of a lighter field. Maybe that'll help out Miles the Monster tonight as these drivers look to survive the final 200 miles on a round of 8. Pace car added in. It's Corey Vincent's field to control as they roll slowly at 49 miles an hour off the quarter to take the American Ethanol green flag. Round of 8 racing once more from Dover. Second to last race of 2018.
You mentioned 2 names inside the top 5, Evan. 2 drivers outside of that cutoff right now in Keegan Leahy and the 05 of Nick Ottinger, as they are going to try to potentially win to really secure themselves into that spot at Homestead. You see them running 2nd and 5th respectively right now. In between, you got Michael Conti, Brad Davies running really well as well, and then Ryan Luza, you mentioned, can't be considered a lock, but with the way the point situation is, he's virtually a lock. So, you know, fighting for one position, this is going to get hairy throughout this 200-lap affair, but for the most part, top 10 right now, single file.
Yeah, the one thing that he needs to be concerned about if you're Ryan Luza is just to stay in front of Ray Alfala on points. That race that we saw Logan and Clampett steal a little bit earlier on, that one coming, I guess, 4 weeks ago now to this point, not being a driver in the playoffs. His race win at Indianapolis meant that none of your playoff drivers could utilize that race victory to qualify into the next round. So as we watch this battle between Ottinger and Davies, the 05 is going to pick one up on the inside, and looks like Luza is going to follow him through. Luza just needs to maintain the advantage over Ray Alfala. That was 24 points into tonight. Doesn't matter who else wins, doesn't matter what anybody else does, as long as he finishes in front of Ray Alfala, he'll be good, because at least one position going to be guaranteed in based on points.
Said it a lot 2 weeks ago, we'll say it again here tonight, controlling your own destiny, and that's essentially what you're doing. If you're Ray Alfala, you want to get up here and win this thing. That guarantees you a spot into that final 4. Same deal with the 4 that are on the outside, Ottinger, Leahy, Zielinski, and Shelton. Some drivers in a little more of a dire strait than the others, but you look back from Nick Ottinger and you see a lot of those drivers, except for Brad Davies on the outside of Taylor Hurst, and I think he's going to find a spot in the line here. They're getting single file for the most part, trying to get in line and maybe ride a little bit here. Earlier you mentioned a little bit of a shorter field at 29 cars, but Miles and Monster can still reach out and bite you. There's Kerwin to the outside of Ray Alfala. Alfala trying to get to the inside, and there's Schoenberg pointing the nose to the outside of the Heyman Hustle 55.
caution flag early. 2 cars in the back, 3 cars. A lot of damage to that car in the foreground there. That was David Rattler's 09 that is completely destroyed, and he wasn't even where all of this started. A second look on the RaceSpotTV replay will show you right here, way sideways in the corner. The 12 machine holds it low, and it unfortunately snaps back up the hill, and it's the 77 of Fayash who was unable to avoid Nick Shelton, and they also come up, they tag Rattler, and the 80 Gilliland, I think, in there also gets a little bit of damage as well. But, well, I guess the 29 car grid not helping too much. Big problems down the back straightaway, and you can see those cars bouncing off the inside wall. Tim, there's virtually nowhere to get away when an accident happens on this track.
And there's some damage to that 12 car. The leaders are going to come down pit road here. Nice onboard shot there, and don't want to say that's a $10,000 slide potentially, but that could dash the hopes of Nick Shelton winning this race and going in to that Homestead Miami Speedway. So one less that we might have to watch for in this playoff picture as we work forward here at Dover. We are 8 laps completed right here, and the 10 of Corey Vincent leading the field down on the pit road.
Everybody going to come down for service, and you feel bad for the 12 to get a minus 28 to the cut line. He was basically in a position that he had to win regardless, but that incident's all him. He got sideways. He's the one that couldn't hang on to it. A tough break. Only positive out of all of that is at least none of the other playoff drivers involved in somebody else's incident. Raced off to the pit lane. Going to be an ash to that white line. And what a move. Keegan Leahy almost got there, but you see the left-hand side of your screen. Virtually no changes inside of the top 9 or so. Everybody in and out the way that they entered. Ray Alfala, first driver to jump up in position. Challenger also gained some. Brad Davies, the 13, loses out about 4 or so positions down onto the pit lane, but an early trip down to the pit lane kind of exemplifies how much these drivers certainly feel like tires are going to be of utmost importance this evening. Zach Novak, though, right there, that 15 Toyota, the only driver who did not come down to the pit lane, and if it was something as simple as staying out to snag a bonus point, Tim, I think he would have pitted there. So his 15 might be committed to this strategy. He was 14th place and rocket him up front, and we'll see if he does decide to stay out, what that car can do on no tires. They only ran about 5.5 laps or so before the caution flag came out.
And he started mid-pack in this one, too. Started 14th on the 29 car field, and the only driver not to come down pit road. We'll see how that shakes out. Beautiful new paint scheme on that race car this evening, and I believe they're going to run that at the Homestead Miami Speedway as well. But Zach trying to continue the momentum and try to pick up a win here at Dover, but there's still a long ways to go in this one, about 190 or so laps left as we get ready to go back to the green flag. Interested to see what Keegan Leahy can do from the inside of row number 2 as he has Conti to the outside. We'll see if the 24 wastes any time trying to get to the front. As we mentioned, he's in one of those win and you're in situations and trying to punch your own ticket to Homestead regardless of relying on points.
A tough run for him just 2 weeks ago at Atlanta has put him down in this dire strait. Top 2 car in qualifying, though. No doubt the 24 is fast, but he's got to make it through the next 191 laps to have a shot at the win when it comes down to it. So early caution flag to go behind us. Pace car off and away. Novak going to control the start. He puts the right foot down, and we go back green from Dover. 9 laps complete, and the battle's going to be for second. There is Leahy. Again, everybody but that 15 for fresh tires. So far, so good, though. Novak leads at a quarter 2.
They run down the back straightaway. Keegan Leahy's going to take that spot over Vincent. Conti takes a peek to the inside as Luza hops to the outside. Look at the run the 5 gets in the middle of the corner. He's going to get Vincent easily. The 05 of Ottinger has a little bit of a slide to the infield. He's going to save it, but that could have been a championship slide, and he's still on the apron trying to keep that thing straight, and he's going to lose about a half dozen positions here.
That's not good at all as he'll slide way back in that inside line. Everybody going to try to sneak out to the outside of the racetrack. All of it figures itself out in due time, and towards the front of the field, here comes the battle for the race lead. Stinking nose to the inside is Keegan Leahy. Maybe using the way that all of this set up, snagged a position away from pole sitter Corey Vincent on the restart order, and Keegan Leahy, who needs a win to go to the championship 4, is side by side with Zach Novak on lap 12. The outside line, good, but only for so long, I feel. The 15 is still there. The 24 might clear, though, this time at 1 and 2. The better tires should hook up on the inside, and there it is. Keegan Leahy to the point, first time tonight at lap 13.
But speaking about hooking up, how about the 5 of Michael Conti as you ride on board with the forefront number 5? He is so good on the inside in the center of the corner off. Really able to roll center real well, but right now he's stuck to the outside as he's trying to get by the 15 of Novak. Just behind them, Logan Clampett has his hands full with the 6 of Luza to the inside. And how about Casey Kerwin having a great run here in the 14? He looks to the inside of Hurst, and now Conti once again flashes a nose to the inside of Novak for a second, which battles all over this top 10.
And again, Zach Novak, by making that decision to stay out, I'm not sure anybody really thought the 15 was going to be able to stay out and lead through all of this, but look at that hungry pack of race cars tightening up behind him. As long as you don't fall back further than where you were when you decided to make the call to stay out, I guess all isn't that bad. You're on board with Logan Clampett, highest running driver of the championship outside of your top 8 playoff drivers. He's got a good view as you go on board with it now inside of the cockpit. It's Vincent on the inside, Novak on the outside, side by side for this battle. Conti's already been able to break through all it. You see the top 2 stretching a little bit of distance. I think this is almost hurting the 15 of Novak. Sure, you want to fight and not give up this spot, but when you run side by side, look at all those cars behind it. That's going to be a big line of cars waiting to take a turn at the 15 if he can't win out in this fight for P3. But he seems to have found a home on the outside line. He's able to get a good run off to the corners, and right now it's giving him a fighting chance.
And the thing is, the 14, Kerwin, can't go anywhere unless he makes it 3 wide, and it's going to come mighty close as they come off of corner number 2. He can't go anywhere. He can't make that outside work because the 15 of Novak is there. And behind him, the 74 of Hurst lining up, the 6 of Ryan Luza also there. Logan Clampett continuing to work that inside. The 15 is going to have a spot in the line here, but it's going to be close. Novak trying to find a spot. The 46 of Clampett to the inside, and Casey Kerwin wants to move. I think he'll go to the inside here.
And he will take that look down to the inside of the racetrack, but decides to hold his ground for the moment. Again, he wants to find a way through. You're on board with him. Look how closely he follows these 2 through. He sees the 46 has the upper hand, and I think that's eventually the line that he's going to select. He just needs Clampett to complete this pass, and again, it took Vincent a little bit to do so. Should the 46 going to be able to get it done in this time at a center of 1 and 2? He does. So now it's Kerwin head-to-head against the 15 at Novak. That battle now for P5 on track, but you can see this wider shot as we come through 3 and 4. Nobody's been able to separate from one another because it's a little bit of a slowdown with the 15 machine being maybe that 10th or so slower on those old tires has really stacked everybody out. Once you get in front of this group right here, you certainly see drivers getting a couple of car lengths in between them, but there is no safe space right now mid-pack.
Indeed, there is not. The 05 of Ottinger, the 15 of Novak continue to dance side by side. Davies a part of this battle. Colton Davis now a part of this battle, as well as the 11 rolls into your picture on the inside line. Davies may have got the wall out of corner number 4. If not, he was some close to it. Jimmy Mullis to the outside. Michael Guest is here as well. This battle has produced a lot of good race cars to be a part of it as well. It's backed up a little bit to some of these race cars. The 05 of Ottinger gets into line. The 15 of Novak gives him a shot down into corner number 3. Luza to the inside. That could have been big in a hurry, but Novak going to fall back a couple of more spots now. Ray Alfalla to the inside of Davies. This one's getting intense.
And Davies stepped down the hill a little bit. He almost, if not did, make some minor contact with that 2 of Alfalla, who again on the inside of the racetrack is in a much more peculiar position in the championship. His main objective coming into this race is obviously stay ahead of Nick Ottinger. And if you stay in front of Ottinger by 12 positions, you should be okay. Ottinger's got a small advantage now with Alfalla being scored 11th at the line, Ottinger 7th. But again, the big caveat is if it is Ottinger, Leahy, Zelensky, or Shelton, the 4 drivers below the cut line, if any of those drivers win, Alfalla all of a sudden is on the outside having to chase a 24-point deficit to lose. I'm not sure how much of that Ray Alfalla is going to be able to control, depending on who or who does not go to victory lane. So the team's in a very tricky spot there. His fate very much in the hands of the other drivers of the playoffs unless he parks it in victory lane.
At this point, he's the biggest Michael Conti fan right now to try to track down Keegan Leahy. There's still about 0.7 of a second between those top 2, though. This is the battle right here. One of the best battles on the racetrack as Ray Alfalla boxed in behind Zach Novak. Davis goes to the outside. Michael Guest goes to the outside. Christian Chalner lining up. Schoenberg is also a part of this. Ray Alfalla is falling like a stone. We keep talking about that points picture. If he continues to fall, Nick Ottinger going to get a little bit closer when it comes to that cutoff line. But oh, by the way, it might not mean anything if Keegan Leahy can go to victory lane. Leahy right now continuing to pull away from Conti.
He continues to stretch the lead out in front, and his battle mid-pack, you see Alfala still stuck at the inside of the racetrack. There's nowhere for him to go. I talk about that 12-point deficit to Ottinger. That might even now be at risk because Ottinger still scored 7th. Ray Alfala now being passed by Reynolds and Zelensky. Alfala currently 11 positions behind Nick Ottinger. And the points right now, that would probably be 1 point difference in favor of the two, with neither of those drivers yet having a bonus point. And now Fallon's going to get a critical spot back as he finally gets to the outside and gets around the 15 of Zach Novak. So back to the call on the 15. Well, we said as long as you don't go lower than 14th, it's not all that bad. Well, he has followed well past the position that he was running in. So the moral of the story, even if it's only 4 or 5 laps, you need tires at Dover.
And you would think right now that it would be a points racing scenario for Ray Alfala, as you mentioned, but it's still early in this one. Keep your car clean and have something for the end of the race. And right now, lap number 28, he definitely has something, but so does that guy right there on your screen, Nick Ottinger in the 05. Ottinger up to 7th and trying to reel in this battle in front as they were side by side behind it for the most part. It's got back to single file with the exception of Reynolds and Schoenberg and Zelensky going back there, but that's outside the top 10. This is about 14th place on your screen right now as Ray Alfala joins that battle once again. Those drivers up in front, you can see from the speed shot there, most of them are all single file. This is the best battle on the racetrack right now. For position is Brian Schoenberg going to take it away from Zelensky.
Give that spot to Schoenberg. The 55 machine has gone back a little bit for the start of this race, so he wants to pick things back up. He runs right now, you see, 14th position, just over 6 seconds off of the race lead. Leahy's gap up front has extended a tad bit. Now a second for the Conti P2, and now a battle for third is on. Casey Kerwin in the 14 machine to the inside of Vincent. This battle side by side, but at a turn 4, the 10 machine holds it a little bit higher. I think he wanted to let the 14 to go and then tuck back down in line. What he does not want is Clampett to be able to get there and all over the quarter panel, nearly making the move work. Clampett will have to tuck back in line. I'm sure he will be back shortly. Logan Clampett nearly caught the 10 sleeping on that move down in turn 1. It is Kerwin to 3rd, sliding back to 4th is the 10 of Vincent, and you're on board with Logan Clampett P5. You've also got Hurst right there also. So certainly these drivers, having just recently cleared that big logjam center of the pack, are far from done. The 46 flashes it O's, and here's a fight for P4.
Taylor Hurst looking to the inside as well, trying to get Logan Clampett through to that position. Vincent falling back early here in this run on lap number 32, and as they continue to run around here, you look at the driver right in front of them. There's Casey Kerwin flashing by your screen. One of the best runs we've seen all season long by Casey Kerwin, up into position number 3, albeit we are still in the first quarter of this race. Give a call out to that number 14 Napa team as he's pulled away from this battle that you see on your screen right now. Clampett, the 74 of Hurst. You've got Vincent, and here comes Nick Ottinger.
Nick Ottinger, most recent driver to get up into the mix here. He also didn't have a great start to this race, has dropped 3 spots from where he started. But Corey Vincent really looks like the wheels are starting to fall off the tender machine. Not sure if he overdrove it a tad bit in that early battle for second position, trying to get around the 15, but he has not been good since he lost to P3. It has just been a continuous trickle down the running order. Look at the 6 car to the inside. Ryan Lusa racing like he's got a lot on the line. It's not going to work out at 2. The car was basically on the apron down into turn 1. It made for a fun quarter. Not good on exit though, and we'll hit the reset button and try again. But none of these drivers shied away early. At 6 machine, a little bit of damage on the front end of his Ford Fusion. I guess he's been mixing it up already.
And behind, lining up some really good cars. Brad Davies, Jimmy Mullis, Colton Davis having a good run here this evening as well. Michael Guest just outside the top 10. Christian Chalner's been able to make up a couple of moves back up to position 13. Started 1 spot better in this race, but doing pretty well in the 78 so far, and albeit still have some laps to run here this evening. Just in front of them, Colton Davis now is to the outside of Jimmy Mullis. Mullis trying to hold the inside of the 11 as the 11 tries to roll the top. Can't roll very far because Davies is there on that top side, but it looks like Davis will take the spot and move past Mullis to put him in the top 10.
That's another swap for position, and in front of them, Luz is going to get his second opportunity at that 10 position of Corey Vincent, and he might not have to go to the apron this time. A lot more space as he throws it down into turn number 1. It's about a 3-story drop from that outside line on the straightaway down to the bottom of the racetrack in turn 1, and Sticks handled it masterfully as he finally is able to complete that pass. And again, I don't think the 10 machine's done here. Davis, Mullins, the 27 machine in its own right, trying to get around Davis as they fight for position. That exchange for 9th and 10th, but single file out for the time being. And now working into a good green flag run in this race as we watch the intervals continue to dance around plus and minus. Not quite a factor yet. Of course, the interval's at the top of your screen, but I am going to keep a half-5. The race lead has shrunk a tad bit. It's still Leahy by a good margin. That's 0.6 of a second that you're looking at, but it has certainly started to flip in favor of the 5 the last few laps.
Yeah, I spoke with crew chief Brandon Hastings earlier today, the crew chief of the 5 of Michael Conti, and he said that their longer run would probably be better compared to some of the other drivers in the field, and we're talking about a 30-plus lap run, and that's about where we are right now as we complete lap 40 this time by, and you can see the forefront number 5 getting a little bit bigger in that rear shot, and Keegan Leahy doing well up in front. Keegan Leahy wants to win this to lock himself into the Homestead Miami Speedway. Obviously, if Michael Conti can get by A, that's one less you have to worry about. And B, his satellite teammate Nick Ottinger is trying to battle to get in here as well. So there's a little bit of pressure on the shoulders of the 5 of Michael Conti. Yes, he's locked into Homestead, but there's some more pressure on the back trying to maybe boot Keegan Leahy out of that spot and also try to get Nick Ottinger in.
That's the objective, and certainly it's a lot easier said than done. You can look at the numbers on paper, you can think through the scenarios, and try to help a buddy out, but the way that these races go, very few times is that plan actually come to fruition, especially a racetrack like this at Dover International Speedway, where things can just get so out of control in the blink of an eye. You see that 74 to Hurst. He is now at a race high P4, and we kind of missed this point through all of the battling, but how about a tip of the cap to the 14 of Casey Kerwin? He's just in front of these cars, coming down the back straightaway. There he is, the Napa Ford. This car started 11th position. He's driven his way up to 3rd. Again, really unassisted. There was that only one quick yellow, but I think a lot of this has just been navigating traffic on the restarts. He, at this moment, is one of the biggest movers in this race, but of course, gaining 8 positions in the top 10, a lot more important than 8 positions back in the high teens or so. The 14s did a very good job. He's very far removed from the battle for the race lead. He's 3.2 seconds off of Leahy and Conti, so a long way to go, and maybe he's not going to be able to make that charge on this run, but certainly a very good opening stint for the 14 car.
And he's got some pretty good cars right behind him in Taylor Hurst, Logan Clampett, and Nick Ottinger trying to get there and pick up a couple of spots as the drivers go by the speed shot down into the corner. Nick Ottinger on your screen right now, and he's going to go to the inside of Faye Ash, was involved in that first wreck early in this one. A little bit of damage, trying to stay on the racetrack and salvage whatever point he can get. We should mention as well that we have a battle for the playoff positions. Top 4 lock themselves into Homestead, but we've also got that battle for a top 12, trying to get a little bit of iRacing credit or coin out of this season, and also top 20 to lock yourself into the series for next year. So you do have some drivers on this racetrack that might not be fighting for a championship, Evan, but they've got plenty to fight for in these final 2 races.
And that's why I think the 29 cars that you see in this race, all of them, their objective is to get the top 20 in the overall championship. That way they don't have to deal with the Pro Series in the offseason. They know that they'll be on the grid when we get back to Daytona early next year. That bright Teddy machine, and I hate to keep picking on Corey Vincent, but it has not been a good run for him at all. And it started off fine. Your pole sitter led laps early in this one, but with an exchange of the race lead through the caution flag, again, the 15 stayed out. 10 ended up on the outside of the racetrack for a restart, but that's not really where the fall-off came. He looked fine for the first 15, 20 laps of the run, but it's just not getting any better. He cannot get away from any other cars slotted up. If this number 66 of Blake Reynolds makes the pass, I mean, Vincent's fallen to 16th. That's more than halfway to the back from where he started.
And there's some strong cars behind him. Look at Brian Schoenberg coming into the picture. There's another one that's fallen a little bit, albeit not halfway through the field. He's going to gain one more here to put himself -6 on the night. Started in 10th all the way back to position number 16. And then right behind him, the 10 of Corey Vincent, going to lose one more spot to Ryan Lowe in the 7. Move Lowe up one more position. So Vincent falling backwards. There's letter yellow to the inside now. One more to go back. Matt Busa had a subpar qualifying effort. He's going to try to move up one more here if he can get up to this battle and point that number 34 to the inside of the peak number 10 of Vincent. So not the night that Vincent has wanted so far, albeit yes, we still have lots of laps to go here, but going the wrong direction, trending the wrong direction is Corey Vincent after starting on the pole.
You saw that 15 in the red. No bueno for the number 10 machine, and maybe he's hoping to get to some green flag pit stops and to be able to kind of hit the reset button, start from scratch at a brand new run in this race. We're past quarter distance, though, working lap 51 of 200 from Dover. Good opportunity to remind you. We'll hold off on that. Caution flag going to come right now, and it is the 15, Zach Novak, leader of this race. On the last restart, stayed out, and now that car is torn up and into the grass at the inside of turn 1. We'll get a second look at this one, and looks like the 4 car caught that one late. The 4 machine, I think, gets into the outside wall. You'll see this battle outside. That's Timmy Hill. I think he got the wall, came down and collected the 15, and a no fault of his own. Zach Novak, a hard hit into the inside wall.
And hustles that race car off the racetrack to make sure it doesn't get hit again. But man, oh man, wrong place, wrong time for the 15 of Novak. And I know Timmy Hill's been doing a part-time season here with his real-world commitments, and not the way that he wanted to start his night here at Dover. But regardless, we're under caution again. We're 1/4 distance through this race, and everybody is coming down into pit road. One thing we should mention, about a 40-lap green flag run or so, and Keegan Leahy was falling back to Michael Conti. If we get another green flag run, maybe Conti makes an adjustment to try to get a little bit closer on that 40-lap-ish run. But we'll see what they do here as they're all down on pit road getting adjustments to the race cars.
And no doubt the call is going to be 4 tires and fuel, just as we saw last time. And a good case study with the 15 machine. You saw how badly 5 laps of difference worked out for him. I don't think anybody dares to cross that even further. So it is going to be a normal cycle, tires and fuel. The only question is the race off for the pit lane, but uncontested is Keegan Leahy. He will win that race off the pit road. Side by side for second as you see him blend back out onto the racetrack here. Looks like Conti hangs on to second off of pit road. Then it'll be Kerwin, Hurst, Clampett through your top 5. Ottinger, Davis, Luza, Mullis, and Zelensky. The rest of them, and you can see them all rejoin the racetrack. And the yellow flag interrupted us. Now that we're pacing, we'll use this opportunity to remind you that this portion of tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Peak Antifreeze and Coolant, the official antifreeze of NASCAR and the proud title sponsor of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series. And no surprise, as we rejoin that iRacing.com official pace car, Tim, nobody stays out. It'll be the 24 back to the front.
Adam Gilliland tried to stay out and get a lap led, but was unsuccessful to do so. So he'll pull the Gary Mercer trucking number 8 down onto pit road and get service to that race car as we still work under the caution flag. Lights are still on atop the pace car. Keegan Leahy, Michael Conti. Now that Casey Kerwin has got through traffic after that run, starting in position number 3, we know those top 2 are quick. We've seen Casey work his way through traffic. Maybe he used up his tires a little bit coming through, but this might be a telltale sign here for laps to come if Casey Kerwin can get up on the wheel here.
And it's hard to kind of calculate the points implications with that asterisk on, Keegan Leahy leading this race. But again, the way it sits now is with the 24 leading this race. If he goes on to win this, he'll get that bye into the next round. The difference is then Luza and Alfala will drop from 3rd, 4th to 4th and 5th. Luza would be in on points, and Ray Alfala would be eliminated if the current running order were to be reflected at lap 200. Now, yes, 146 laps still to go, but as you go on board with Ray, again, he's in a tough spot here, because if it is not a driver below him in the points winning, It is a 12-point gap that he has to defend to Ottinger, and that 05 has been doing his best to at least make that interesting thus far. Ottinger actively about 6 positions in front of Ray on the racetrack, not enough to cover the spread, but as the lights go out on top of the pace car, again, cannot stress enough. Keegan Leahy probably wouldn't be in this position if it wasn't for that incident that he was involved in 2 weeks ago. Instead, he's in a winner-go-home spot, and as of right now, he's getting the job done. A big restart coming up. You mentioned, Tim, earlier that Ray was certainly going to be cheering for the 5 of Michael Conti. Conti's already got a win, so the win for the 5 doesn't matter, doesn't give him any more bonus points or anything. So I don't think the 2 machine would be objective if the 5 could get something going here. He'll be on the right-hand side for the restart.
And Keegan Leahy really hasn't been where he has been over this season. Obviously had his issues at Darlington, had the issues a little bit at Indy, had a little bit of issue at Atlanta. So the water's been kind of thrown on the fire per se, but if they can respark the fire here, they might be a force to be reckoned with at Homestead. But they've got to get there first, and Conti's going to try to not let them do that as they come to green.
See how the defense of the race lead is going to go. Good restart certainly will help as we go back green. A 55 flaps down. A long way to go still for the Monster Mile. Fight going to come for second. It'll be the second restart in a row. That inside of road 2, the place to be. Kerwin trying to dig on Conti. The 5 machine survives to the back straightaway. That'll be it. They single file out. Conti 2. It'll be Kerwin 3. And 4th now on the back. Where's the big pile up is side by side. From there on back still.
We're side by side for about 7 deep or so. The clamp at number 46 to the inside of first. You've got Zielinski to the inside of Ottinger. First time I think we've called his name all night long in the top 10. Luza trying to roll the top. Davis in the inside. And here comes Ray Alfalo one more time in the Virtual Racing School number 2, a part of the top 10 and battling it out for a position. Close quarters, Jimmy Mullis a part of this battle. He's to the inside of the 2 of Alfalo. Alfalo trying to get down here. The 13 of Davies is there, but Mullis rolling the inside, preventing Alfalo from getting down.
And that's going to keep that number 2 machine stuck up on the outside. The 27, that inside has been the passing lane for a lot of this, but I think right off of the restart, the outside might be a better place to be because look at everybody else topside. Even the cars single file in front of the 27 aren't daring to go down all the way to where the racetrack meets the apron until right there on quarter exit. 27 sees the spot. He'll slide up and get it. Very good job by Jimmy Mullis to make sure that he didn't end up on the wrong side of a freight train. He gets in line and should be able to ride around a tad bit P10.
It looks like they're going to get single file for the moment. Busa looking to the outside there, just outside your frame, as the 7 of Ryan Lowe having a great run here. He rolls to the inside of Blake Reynolds. That's about 14th place or so. Up in front, still status quo. Keegan Leahy still leads Conti, Casey Kerwin, and they're within about a half second of each other, but this is the closest battle to the front of the field that's side by side. Davies going to take a spot over Guest, and here comes Schoenberg. The Heyman Hustle 55 to the inside of Lowe.
The inside of Lowe, that's the battle we're watching right now for 15th spot. The 7 sideways and almost contact between those 2. There's more contact now into turn number 3. The 7 machine was all kinds of out of shape. Schoenberg didn't have much control either. There's the payback shot as Lowe slams into the 55 on corner exit, and I don't think he's going to be able to get back to him. So through all of that, Schoenberg will get the spot. Very aggressive driving for 15th and 16th on track.
Schoenberg, a very energetic driver, gets worked up. And I'm sure that Pat Millay, his crew chief, is trying to calm him down a little bit and tell him there's more laps left to go in this one. Behind them, Matt Busa battles with Christian Chalner. Busa already into that final 4 at Homestead and trying to come from the rear of the field to the front. And Evan, that's been a theme the last couple of weeks, but here at Dover might be a little bit tougher to get to the front compared to the last couple of racetracks we've been at. And then there's your pole sitter, Vincent, in the 10, and he's still trying to get his way back towards the front of the field. So there's some good drivers mid-pack right now.
There's a lot of speed there in the setup of the pack. The intervals have been oh so close that it's been really difficult to kind of separate this field. In practice, fastest time in practice with according to Vincent, 22.8. Slowest time was a 23.5 for Shelton, and that was obviously a missed lap. But you know, about let's say 25 or so of the lap times were separated by no more than a tenth and a half. So the difference between what makes a very fast car and a mid-pack just fast car, not a ton when you're racing at a place like Dover. And certainly you see the number 12 machine out on the back end. They're not doing all that well at the moment. Shelton, first driver that's fallen a lap down. We join some of the lead lap action. That's the 78 machine of Chalmers, mid-pack 17th spot. So he looks to the inside on the 7, and we'll see if there's less fireworks in this exchange.
Chalmers takes a look to the inside of Lowe. Busa right behind this little battle as they continue to duke it out. Up in front continues to be about a second between your top 3 or so. Taylor Hurst in 4th, Logan Clampett in 5th. There's the 5 of Michael Conti on your screen. Logan Clampett back to 5th place, and everybody has a little bit of a buffer room in between them. Then you get back to this battle right here with Ottinger and Zielinski. Zielinski making a move back up through the field, started in 19th, up 12 positions to 7th, and hung out around the top 10 or just outside the top 10 before that last caution flag flew, and now well within the top 10, sitting in position number 7. There's another one that if he can win tonight, he'd lock himself into Homestead, but he's got to get up on the wheel and get that checker flag.
He needs a win. 27 points back. Certainly is going in the right direction, and appears to at least have been taking advantage of the limited opportunities to restart thus far. Again, there's some drivers, I think Keegan Leahy included in that group, doesn't really want cautions. He's enjoying the the atmosphere and the weather out front. But for the 83 machine, you need a combination of green flag laps to be able to make up those spots. You gotta have time to pass people. If you're gonna claw out of 19th on the grid, which I'm sure is not at all what the 83 machine was expecting nor hoping for this evening. But then once you've gotten 5, 6, 7, 8 spots, whatever it may be, as he tries to get another one at Ottinger in the battle for P6, then you do need a caution flag eventually to be able to make back the time gap. You're passing cars for position, but all while losing time to the race leader. So that's when those yellows and regrouping everybody really helps somebody like the Zielinski. So we'll see how much more he can get out of this. He was all over Ottinger, and I'm not sure he's going to be able to get to the 05. He's right there on him now. Ottinger himself looking like he wants to mount a charge on Clampett. So we'll see who the first one to make a move is.
And tried to diamond off the corner there a little bit and almost got into the 11 of Davis. To the inside he goes as they have a little bit of issue in front. The 05 was sideways after getting almost into Clampett, and the 46 it got close, and now the 11 of Davis back to the inside of the 83 of Zielinski. It's going to get tight here off of corner number 4. Zielinski's going to take that spot back, little slide, and enter the 6 of Luza to the outside. Ryan Luza pulls his foot out of it there, and will let the Davis machine continue to operate. But now Zielinski back at Ottinger, looking to make something happen. Ottinger gets the run off too, gets a couple of car lengths on Zielinski. Meanwhile, up in front, that early run by Keegan Leahy continuing to roll. It's now 7/10 of a second between your top 2. The short run has been superior, it seems like, for Keegan Leahy.
He's enjoying that short to medium range run. If what we saw last time happens again, you're still about 20 laps away or so from then seeing that 24 start to fall back to Conti. But right now it is all Leahy out in front. Conti second with Casey Kerwin third. Taylor Hurst fourth, and Logan Clampett rounding out your top 5. And we can Clampett, you see that 46 machine dive off into the quarter. He's just in front of that fight that we've been keeping a half eye on, anticipating what it's going to happen. Ottinger keeps pushing way up the hill down at 1 and 2. We're back on board again with Bobby Zielinski, who's up 12 spots. Colton Davis behind him, up 8 spots. A couple of hungry drivers trying to get by, but an 05 is really struggling down at this end of the racetrack. We'll see how high he goes up the hill, but it's caused a couple of problems. And you see even Clampett in front of him way up the hill also, and it kind of backs everybody up. That's why we've seen some of those close calls.
And of course, you don't really want to go to the inside unless you have that good run. We saw it a couple laps ago where Davis went to the inside. Zielinski was rolling the top and kind of cut that corner off in turn 4 and nearly got turned for it. But you look at these two now, they continue to battle. The 11 right up to the back bumper of Zielinski, tries to get it to the inside, tries to get it to cut a little bit better than that 83 of Zielinski in front of him, but won't be able to do so here through 1 and 2 as you ride on board going down the back straightaway into turn 3. It seems like Colton Davis's car might be a touch better up here, but he goes way high. The 83 of Zielinski nearly got the 05 of Ottinger in turn 4. It's close racing between these guys here. One small little mistake or one small little slip up is probably going to allow you to get by. The 05 of Ottinger, though, left the door open for the 83 as Zielinski couldn't get down to the inside of the 2.
You almost daring him to just make that dive down to the inside of the racetrack. If you want to go there, why not? Stick a nose in, and you can certainly make it side by side. But again, the challenge is going to be you just can't get back to the gas coming off of the corner, and that's why those drivers all tend to follow each other in line. You go down and you don't make the pass, you're essentially trying to get back up in line, and if you go down, somebody else fills that spot, all of a sudden you're stuck on the inside, and things do not go well if you are pinched in the line. Just ask Corey Vincent. Your pole sitter just has not been able to get back to it since that big slide on the long run before the first race of the caution flag. He's still being scored in 19th position, so not at all what that team was going to be expecting if you asked them 60 laps or so ago after having a pretty good start to the opening few laps of this race. But something's got to happen here. You got all these cars tied together. You see in front of this group a lot more separation. Behind this group, a little bit more separation. Right here is what's keeping everybody together, and Logan Clempitt does not want to be the martyr that has to be the one to split this all up, but he's in front of this as you look out at the back end on him. Look how high the 05 and the 83 continue to go. This time, Davis does go down to the inside, so it'll be a side-by-side fight for 7th. You just don't see that inside line working. We'll see what the 11 machine's able to do. Those cars up top are so far up top that not like the 11's getting pinched down low. There's just very little speed on corner exit there.
And the 46 of Clampitt got a great run at a 2 a couple laps ago and has been able to skirt away from this battle, albeit by about 3 or 4 car lengths. He's been able to get away from it, and now Davis and Zielinski are side by side, trying to get that inside line to work. Goes up the racetrack a little bit, allows Zielinski to get a run off the corner. Zielinski trying to pinch the 11 a little bit down, but they'll continue to be side by side, doing what each other has to do to try to take away the position. And oh, by the way, try to close in on Ottinger and pull away from Ryan Lewis. It's a fine line that these drivers are running here as the 83 gets another great run up off the corner. Zielinski tries to hold Davis off. Davis goes back to the inside. Look at the run that he gets center off the 11 at Davis. What a run.
A great run, and the 83 machine with virtually no space will slide by, and Colton Davis going to be pushed right back to where he was. I don't think he necessarily committed to coming up, but he almost had Zielinski cleared, and there wasn't much more than a car length of space, but he was able to fit through. Slow car on the inside is Andrew Fayash III. He has had damage. That is not a new incident, but that car is very slow, and I think he's eventually going to call it quits here as he brings what's left of that car down to the pit lane for service. Battle up front. It's Ottinger to the inside. He's been playing defense up top for so long, tired of sitting around on the 05 machine. We'll see if he's going to be able to make something stick. The 05, though, Tim, noticeably lower this time in the quarter, and when you don't give that 83 room to push up down low, it's really going to hurt the 83 machine. So Zielinski tried it, didn't work, smartly tucks back up in line before Davis filled the gap.
But now how impatient does Davis get? Here comes Mullis out of nowhere. The 27 car wants to be a part of this battle with Ryan Luza. Davis gives a little shot to Zielinski down the back straightaway. Ottinger continues to hold on to this battle, and Logan Clampitt's pulled away by about a half second from this little battle for position. And look at Ray Alfala to the inside. Took a look on Jimmy Mullis. Couldn't get there that time by, but it's going to get tight. Here comes Davis rolling the inside and almost got to the back bumper of Ottinger, but now Zielinski going to try to suck back around on the outside. Davis doing a great job trying to keep this inside line working, but he's using it up a little bit trying to make this pass.
He's really trying to make this pass, and you got to question if continuing to make these efforts is going to hurt you long term. I don't necessarily buy into the concept that, this race goes the next 113 laps green to the end. You never know. Certainly, there's a good chance that this run continues for a healthy amount of time, and if you continue to dive low, try to make it work on the inside, and the same result every single time, I'm not sure it's necessarily the most sensible decision. But what this group was not all that long ago as the 11 tries to dig hard on the inside again. He'll get up alongside Zelensky and then lose all that time he made into the corner as he comes back off to him. As this was kind of a gag of the cars. It seemed like somebody up the front was slowing everybody down because you had like 5 or 6 cars on top of each other. None of them have really exchanged positions or so. They've all just kind of spread out from one another. Clampett no longer really under fire. He's pulled a little bit from P5. And sure, the 05, 83, and 11 are still on top of each other, but there's certainly a lot more space than what there was 10, 15 laps ago. All kind of starting to see the wear with all of those cars at an even rate.
And now your battle for the lead is getting close. It's Michael Conti and Keegan Leahy up in front, and it's down to 2 car lengths between Conti and Leahy. And especially here, I've been watching this battle out of the corner of my eye, Evan, the last couple laps. Right here off at 2, Leahy struggles compared to Michael Conti. You see Conti get that run off turn 2 into the back bumper of the 24 about a car length away. It seems like Keegan Leahy struggling more with the exit to the corner. Michael Conti seems to be able to roll center and off a little bit better, and that's where the 5 is making up the time on Keegan Leahy. But we're at that point once again, 30, 35 laps or so, and Michael Conti's car continues to get a little bit better. And if you look out the rear view of that shot, you see a glimpse of Casey Kerwin there as well, trying to get a little bit closer to this battle. So Keegan Leahy looks like he's better about 30 laps in, and then he starts to fall off a little bit, starts to plateau, and Michael Conti, Casey Kerwin begin to get a wee bit closer and goes way up the racetrack here, trying something different, and the 5 of Michael Conti is still there. It's about a car length between those 2.
And how desperate does this number 24 machine get? 29 cars started this race. He is headed into this evening at a 24-point disadvantage to the next closest car at Ottinger. If Ottinger and Alfala wreck out now, that's about the only way he's going to be able to make up 24 points. So he needs to win this race. Conti looks low. Not going to happen that time. Don't really think the 5 expected to make the pass for the race lead there. He made that move to the inside from awfully far behind. And with that 24 going up the hill, the inside's going to be there every single time. But if you're the 24, Tim, do you let the 5 go now? Don't force the issue and figure, hey, we'll get through pit stops, I'll get the upper hand on the next short run and try to catch up to him? Or is your thought process, I cannot let him by? And again, the 5 doesn't need to make that pass for the race win. He's already in the 24, needs to defend that spot. And when you got one desperate driver and one driver who has a lot less invested in it, typically the driver who's making the more crazy moves is going to be the one that wins out. So Leahy hasn't necessarily been throwing the blocks thus far, but this is critical in his championship bout as we're 5 laps from halfway.
I think this is about what you have to do. Let Michael Conti get to the inside, let him try to battle, but still have that run off the corner. But as you mentioned, it is still early in this race. There's lots of laps to go, 105 laps to go, to be exact this time by. And if you're the 5 of Michael Conti, you don't need to get this win. It would be nice to get this win, but you don't need to get to victory lane. Keegan Leahy absolutely needs to win this race. If you're the 5 of Michael Conti and Nick Ottinger is in a position, your satellite teammate, to try to get yourself or himself into that final 4 with you, yes, you probably should get into there and possibly try to get Keegan Leahy out of that winning position. But on the other side of it too, we mentioned earlier, do you want Keegan Leahy in the final 4 at the Homestead Miami Speedway? If you don't, you get past him, he's likely going to lose out on the points picture. So I'm sure it's in the back of Conti's mind. Yes, you're a race car driver, you want to win a race, but Keegan Leahy right now needs this win a little bit more than Michael Conti. And sometimes, as you mentioned, when you're a desperate driver and you need it a little bit more than everybody else, sometimes you race a little bit harder, and sometimes that can cost you.
And we'll see how all of this is navigated over the course of the next 102 laps. You picking up a battle now with a 34 machine. Busa, winner from 2 weeks ago. We'll see him at Homestead, Miami. Question is, will that car on the outside be there also? It's Ray Alfala folding for position, and a caution flag will fly just moments from us crossing the halfway point. And Taylor Hurst hurt down, already down onto the pit lane. I think the incident is with that number 74 machine. We'll check the replay. There it is. He just lost it coming down the back straightaway. Look out! And somehow doesn't get smoked by Zelensky, but that 27 was not as fortunate, and it looked like that was a heavy hit from Jimmy Mullis.
It was, and a heavy hit into the inside wall, and Hurst has no control of this thing, just trying to lock it down, and Mullis absolutely nowhere to go in the 27. Hard hit for that driver, and you're going to be able to ride on board with Zielinski. This is the near miss. You see Hurst right in front of you, go to the inside, and you see him coming up the racetrack. Might have got the wall just a wee bit on the outside, but that's better than completely collecting Taylor Hurst. Zielinski, though, still has a shot at this one. Here's the number 2 of Ray Fallon. You're going to ride on board with him as he's working the outside line already, and he's going to have a close call here. Mullis has already impacted him, and everybody woes down in front. So Ray's got a little bit of damage to the back end of that race car by the looks of it. But speaking of, we're going to come down onto pit road at lap 100, and we're going to see who will win this race off of pit road as all your leaders are in.
Everybody's in. Just also wanted to note, if Ryan Luza is able to hold on to the big points gap he has into this evening, that's going to be a clip that you look back on also, because as Zielinski squeezed by on the outside, Luza was about equally as close to getting taken out on the inside. If either of those drivers win a title, that's going to be a clip to look at. But a race off of the pit lane, and it is going to go in favor, it looks like, to the 14 machine on the race off. No, the 5 will pass outside. iRacing scoring, I believe, going to give that one to Michael Conti as the 5 machine passes the 14. Our points suggest the 14 machine would win out in that battle, and I think he did, but at the expense of a penalty, Tim. It did look like he got him at the line, but in order to do so, he sped, and Casey Kerwin will now tumble down the running order with a penalty.
And that's a tough break because he has a really good race car here this evening. Still got half the race to work to try to get that thing back to the front of the field, but it's going to be a longer road to get back there, as I believe Adam Gilliland stayed out, tried to lead that lap again, but failed to do so. He's going to come down onto pit road to get service to his race car. But man, oh man, I hate it for Casey Kerwin, but he's still got a clean race car. He's got 100 laps to get there. I think he can get there. The question is how much do you use your stuff trying to get back through?
And it's certainly the question is, what are you going to be willing to sacrifice in a run? Certainly, I think when you're working with literally half the amount of time that you had earlier, you just have to go for it. But we'll see how it all plays out. Past the halfway point now from Dover. Let's take a quick look top to bottom at your iRacing midway race break. Brought to you by iRacing, the leading online racing simulation, developed at the beginning as a centralized racing and competition service. iRacing organizes, hosts, and officiates races on virtual tracks from all around the globe. And in the fast-paced world of esports, iRacing is your one-stop shop for online racing with officially sanctioned series by the likes of NASCAR and many more. Halfway home, and it is now Michael Conti, your race leader, beats the 24 Keegan Leahy out of the pit lane. 24 better on the short run. This is going to be a restart you are not going to want to miss. Behind them, Logan Clampett third with Bobby Zielinski and Colton Davis rounding through your top 10. Nick Ottinger scored P6. Michael Guest is 7th. Ryan Luza in 8th position. Brian Schoenberg 9th, and Blake Reynolds rounds out your top 10.
As we get the one to go, Christian Chalner will line up 11th. Matt Busa to his outside in 12th. Brad Davies has been up and down all night long in 13th. Ryan Lowe charging to the front in 14th. Corey Vincent will line up in position number 15. Casey Kerwin was falling back through, so that'll move Joe Letteriello up to about 15th place. Corey Vincent back to 16th. Phil Diaz, Chris Shearburn, Casey Tucker, and Timmy Hill the last time by your top 20.
And everybody else left-hand side of your screen, Jimmy Mullis, Ray Alfata, Adam Gilliland, should say, Casey Kerwin, Nick Shelton through the top 25. They're the last cars on the lead lap. You've also got David Rattler 2 laps down in 26. So is Taylor Hurst in 27th. His night might be done. Faye Ash limping around 28th. And out of this race is Zach Novak at the back. It's a look top to bottom at your iRacing midway race break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities, you can visit iRacing.com to sign up today. So the reset button comes, 98 laps to go from Dover, and a critical battle for the race lead that has major championship implications. Michael Conti, very slow at a turn 4, but it'll pay off, and he'll get a big jump down to turn 1. Leahy falls behind second.
And there's another championship contender in Bobby Zielinski, who's moved up into the top 5 and into the top 3 as he will shadow the 24 of Leahy. Conti is gone up in front of these two, and then you look back to the 46 of Logan Clampett, who has company in Colton Davis. Davis has been consistently coming towards the front of the field and now cracks the top 5.
He also cracks into the top 5, one of the drivers who has been making big strides thus far this evening. Of course, the 11 not nearly in a similar position to what those cars second and third position are in, because now it's the first time Keegan Leahy has not been leading this race in some time, so the live points would now revert back to the drivers advancing into the championship for once again being those who came into tonight above the cut line. Luza, Alfala, live points would have them in based on the running order. Leahy and Zelensky, second and third. Neither of those, what would be good finishes, would be enough. And both of those drivers right now eliminated in a live look at the playoff grid.
But when you look at those positions right now, Ray Alfala's almost at the back of this snake right now in position number 18, and Nick Ottinger is up in position number 7. So there's Ray Alfala riding on board. That's your 18th place driver right now behind Chris Shearburn. And we've seen it at Dover before, and we saw it on Taylor Hurst wreck with Jimmy Mullis. If something is to happen here in front of Ray Alfala, chances are he might very well get swept up in it, or we'll have to play dodge and avoid in front of him as he goes to the inside of Shearburn. Nick Ottinger, meanwhile, up a little bit closer towards the front of the field, battling with Michael Guest for position number 6. And we're at the point now where you put 12 positions in between them, they might be tied heading in to that final race, and you'd have to go into a tiebreaker procedure and what have you. But it's going to get close there for those positions if they continue to run whereabouts they are right now. Keegan Leahy's under fire from Bobby Zelensky. Zelensky pointed that virtual racing school 83 to the outside the last lap. Leahy has held off the 83. Clampett and Davis also there battling for second.
Yeah, so there's certainly a lot going on in this one again, with Alfala being 18th, Ottinger 7th. I think that 11 position difference still gives Ray a 1-point benefit. Of course, that could change in the blink of an eye. Any battle for position, and all of a sudden, it all changes up. But Michael Conti hadn't been that excellent on these very short runs. It's where Keegan Leahy excelled. But the furthest that 24 was able to get out was maybe a second or so, about 15, 20 laps into a run before the 5 started to reel him back in. Well, despite the excellent restart, the 24 was certainly still there. But Michael Conti is putting down some stellar laps, a 10th and a half faster than the 24 that last time by. So as we start to see these drivers, 3rd, 4th on back, mix it up. Michael Conti turning it up a notch and checking out for the race lead.
It looks like the attitude of that race car progressively gets better on each of the runs after they come on the pit road and make adjustments to it. So I think they're on top of their game compared to some of the others right now, or at least by the looks of it on the racetrack. You're right on board with Colton Davis to the back bumper of Clampett, and just in front of them, Zelensky tried to make that move that last time on Leahy, but Leahy got an awesome run out of corner number 4 in Gap C. Zelensky, number 83, by about 2 lengths. You look back to Zelensky and the rest of the field from position number 2. Keegan Leahy trying to stay where he is right now, and possibly on a couple of late race restarts might have a shot at Michael Conti, but Conti right now gone by about a second or so. We've seen this play out on these last couple of runs, Evan, where the roles would be reversed, where Leahy would get about a second and 2/10 lead or so, and then he'd be reeled in by Michael Conti about 30 laps later. We'll see if the roles are reversed this time, but right now Conti out there building a lead. There goes Busa to the inside of Reynolds.
Busa to the inside. Reynolds trying to make a move, and he will successfully do so. That'll be for 10th and 11th. This portion of tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Herculiner Bedliner. The tough comes easy, and what is not going to come easy is a ticket into the championship for Ray Alfala. He has lost another spot. Chris Shearburn has passed him for 18th position, so Ray Alfala down in 19th. to Nick Ottinger's P7. Again, unofficially, those two drivers right now tied for 4th and 5th on the playoff grid as they run right now.
But still lots of laps to go, and there's lots of action to behold here, these final 85 laps of competition. Said it off the top of the show, I'll say it again, you kind of control your own destiny right now. Keegan Leahy is probably the one that's near the top of that mantra right now, 0.8 of a second back from Michael Conti. If he wants to be in the Final Four at Homestead, he's got to win, and then the same deal with that guy right behind him in Bobby Zelensky. but if they win, it's likely going to knock out a guy like a Ray Alfala or a Nick Ottinger, so they got to keep that in mind. And if those two want to solidify their future into Homestead, they've got to get up on the wheel and try to get up to the front and win this thing as Davis passes Clampett and Michael Guest. Really the first time we've talked about him within the top 5 all night long, taking a peek and trying to get up here into the top 5. Guest having a great run here at Dover.
He's done an exceptional job, but last run and a half or so, making that step up. He is one of what right now is 5 drivers who started outside of the top 10 and runs inside of the top 10 right now. Zelensky third, started 19th. Colton Davis in 4th, started 16th. Of course, Guest up from 13th. And Matt Busa, who just cracked the top 10, started way back in 28th. So Busa is your biggest mover, your race winner from 2 weeks ago. He's the hard charger thus far, plus 18. I think it's been a healthy split, though, thus far, Tim, of green flag action, caution flags, restarts, certainly playing it into everybody's strategy. I think it's been a healthy mix thus far. I can't promise you what's to come now with 81 laps to go, but we're counting down to the end, and if you're not liking the points position you're in, you're going to have to figure something out now or forever reap the consequences, because there's not a lot of time left. These 80 laps, if we stay green for a good portion of it, going to fly right by with the race leader still running lap time sub 25 seconds.
And we've seen green flag runs of about 30 to 40 laps or so, and we went green around that halfway point. So if history will repeat itself, we're about 20 laps or so, 15, 20 laps or so away from seeing another caution flag. These cars, the handle going away from some of the drivers, and that sometimes produces those yellow flag periods. And right now, looking at the front of the field, you see Matt Busa there getting passed by Christian Chalner. He'll fall back one spot, get that run at a corner number 4, and right back up to Chalner, and that is a little bit ways back. That's for position number 10, as Chalner will take that spot. The one thing that I'm watching out of the corner of my eye, Keegan Leahy is starting to bite into Michael Conti's advantage, and we saw that on the first couple of runs. The only difference was that Conti was second and chasing down the 24 of Leahy, and now the roles are reversed. Leahy is chasing down Conti, and it's now under half a second. It was almost a full second a few laps ago, and now Conti is coming back to the field, and I say field because Bobby Zelensky's not too far behind Keegan Leahy either.
Yeah, he's slotted back to the group as a whole, and listen, Michael Conti, somebody very experienced in this NASCAR Antifreeze iRacing series. Don't think he's somebody who would go out and burn up equipment, without really needing to. The 2014 series champion leading this race now will have an opportunity to go for a second title in 2 weeks' time from Homestead. But it is ironic and I think very interesting that this is normally the point and run, at least the last two, where Leahy has started to come back to Conti when these roles were reversed. I thought the 5's great start would only further help him as that car would continue to get better on this long run. Instead, it's the same thing that's been happening all night, just role reversal with Leahy and Zelensky closing in. And it's not like the 5's making any big and noticeable mistakes. They're both running roughly the same line. The 24 maybe a half a lane lower that time in 3 and 4. You can really see how the rubber's been put down on this racetrack. It all started that very washed out gray color, and all that dark markings down about the bottom half of the track has been from the rubber that's been put down this far. So that groove is widening out, and maybe to the benefit of Conti because he's really up on the outside of the racetrack in the turns.
And you look at Michael Conti right now, we're going to have at least one more run or at least another pit stop to probably come down and get tires and what have you. So and most of these guys are probably thinking the way that we've gone, the rhythm that we've gone in this race, it's going to be about 30 to 40 laps on a run, and that's about where we are right now, coming in at about 25 laps on this green flag run. But maybe if you are Michael Conti, maybe you're out there using it up a little bit more than you might usually do just to see how far you can push it, what you have for a pace on a run. But right now it looked like Keegan Leahy got a little bit closer, but it's kind of stabilized right now at about 3 to 4 tenths of a second back from Michael Conti. So maybe Conti got out, maybe Conti let off a little bit per se and kind of let off the rhythm a little bit, and Keegan Leahy's been trying to reel him in, and now Conti's turned up the wick a little bit more as we've got one car in the wall. Is that Davies? Brad Davies in the wall in the 13. No caution on the speedway, but definitely off the pace.
Yeah, and they'll take a look at the replay here. You'll see he had a little bit of assistance. Right there was the contact with the 14 machine. 2 bits of contact, and the 13 got sideways and ended up into the outside wall. He was slow to begin with. The 14 drove it hard into the turn, and the 13 almost came back down to protect, and there was very little, if no incentive, for Casey Kerwin to roll out of the throttle for him at a battle for 14th and 15th spot. And that is how Davies ends up into the outside of retaining the ball. Obviously, no spin there, so this race stays green. But you see Kerwin right there. The 14 machine did get 14th, so I guess the end objective pays off thus far for the driver who started in P11. And for the better portion of this race has been running much better than he is right now, pretty much squared in the middle of the pack. Also, the intervals in favor of Keegan Leahy have slowed down a tad bit. Michael Conti's found his water wings, and he's staying about a half of a second in front of the 24, so maybe that battle for the race lead not as imminent as we once saw, as we see some of the separation amongst the race leaders down the back straightaway. Conti still on top of Leahy, Zelensky, Davis, Clampett through the top 5.
As we continue to run here on lap number 130, you look back to Nick Ottinger. The one thing that we saw in that incident, as Ray Alfala barely got by Brad Davies, that's one more position, Evan, that he doesn't need to worry about.
One more spot he doesn't have to be concerned about as we close in. Now less than 70 laps to go from Dover. We'll take a quick opportunity to step aside. Michael Conti, maybe the hero for Ray Alfala. He leads. We're back to Dover in a moment. You're watching the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series on RaceSpotTV and the iRacing Esports Network.
Things can get rough out there.
The bumper to the back of the 24!
You think you got the brass?
I proved it last season.
That was last year. Now we've got young blood ready to take out the old. Start your engines. It's time to race.
Alex Labbé, driver of number 36 in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and I'm from Montreal, Canada. I'm here at iRacing headquarters, just logging some laps on the Roval. It's a brand new track, nobody's been there before. Even us Xfinity guys, we're not allowed to go test before, so I think it's a pretty good test to do a couple of laps here and learn the layout. I think it's gonna be tricky. It's gonna be fun to drive by ourselves, but I think it's gonna be really tough in the traffic just to overtake people, and especially the infield because it's all new pavement. So it's gonna be pretty tricky, but I think we're gonna have to be there at the end to survive because there's gonna be a lot of things happening for sure. I started on iRacing on 2010, I think, just doing like short tracks because I was a short track racer and just helping me out. And then when I started doing the Xfinity Series, it really helped me learn all the new tracks because it was always the first time I was going to the tracks and all the ovals, and especially like the road courses like the Roval and I don't know, Mid-Ohio, Road America, Watkins. It's a little longer to learn. So if I could use I use the platform in the weeks prior to the race just to get the track in my head and be up to speed quicker on the track. I think it's probably like if I would have run 10 to 15 laps on a real track for sure at least, because I mean I know I've been on iRacing before, and I know the tracks are really close to what they're in real life. So just small stuff I can learn. I think I can apply it like directly on the track when I get there, and it's a lot because like I said, you get up to speed quicker and you make a lot more gains with the team, and especially we're a smaller team, so we can't really run. Like on Thursday, we're going to run some laps, but we can't run as much laps as a big team. So just to come here and lug some good laps, it's going to be a huge help for this weekend.
To the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Ray Alfala into the outside wall.
He's going to pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's going to get them all done with. What amazing
race lead to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is going to touch in. Pit press. What a save.
Look to the outside as Cronkite goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
Trying this contact though.
And wide left of the racetrack. Chris Renner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact.
He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cut back here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Michael Schumacher, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
And back live from the Dover International Speedway, 57 laps still to go in this Dover 200 final race on the round of 8 on these 2018 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series playoffs. Happy that you're with us, RaceSpotTV and the iRacing Esports Network. Big changes as we stepped aside. We've talked about Keegan Leahy, who has needed a race win tonight if he wants to fight for the title at Homestead. Tim Terry, well, he pitted about 4 or 5 laps ago. So Leahy's now 17th spot, having come down pit road. Michael Conti, well, you see the fine machine. He is yet to pit. He is still your race leader with now 56 laps left to go on the board. So obviously the call for the 24 here is he didn't feel like he could beat the 5 straight up. He wants to beat him on a short pit. And speaking of pitting, here comes the 5. Dover, one of the more tricky pit road entries, and that looked pretty spot on for Conti.
And Zielinski's going to follow him down. Ryan Lewis and Michael Guest coming off the opposite end of pit road as we continue to work around under green on lap number 145. And I'm intrigued by the different pit strategy that we're seeing out of Keegan Leahy. Logan Clampett was down about 5 laps after Keegan came down. He really popped the cork on green flag pit stops. But I'm kind of intrigued to see how this works out. I don't think they would try a second stop compared to what Michael Conti would, but we'll have to see how it goes. Joe Letteriello has scored as your leader in the 57 car, and he's actually had a really good run tonight. He was working his way towards the front of the field, and now he's up in front, leading some laps in this one. You're seeing Chris Shearburn on your screen. He scored in position number 2. Phil Diaz in 3rd. Casey Tucker, Nick Shelton, your top 5. Shelton involved earlier in an incident, has a little bit of damage with those top 4. Playing some pit strategy as Letteriello locks him up coming down into pit road, and Shearburn will go by and he'll lead a lap here at Dover.
Yeah, that might be a speeding penalty for the 57. You saw him slide in, but this is a good opportunity for some impact drivers. Stay out, snag him at this point for the lead of the lap. Chris Shearburn, the latest driver to have assumed the race lead in this one. You see the 36, he's tailed by Diaz, then Shelton, Gilliland. I believe it would then be it, as everybody else is already completing their cycle down to the pit lane. Obviously, pitting now with just over 50 laps to go, going to be enough to get to the end of this race. My concern is that very early stop by Leahy, his tires are going to be shot by the time he gets to the end of this run. I don't think the fuel's a concern to him, but he was already, I think, struggling enough as is on the long run. He's going to become your race leader. Don't get me wrong, when this cycles through, the 24 will be back to P1. I just don't know how much he's going to have left by the time it gets down to those final 20 laps.
that team must have felt like they had to do something to get by Michael Conti. I don't know, as you mentioned, if short pitting that much is the answer, but that's probably why we're up here and they're down on the racetrack, and those crew chiefs are crunching those numbers on the boxes. Chris Shearburn is now on the pit road. Phil Diaz will take your lead position away, and he'll lead this thing around corner number 4. There goes Timmy Hill to the inside to unlap himself, or at least put one less lap up on the board. And here comes Michael Conti in the 5 to unlap himself, and that would be position number 7, at least at this point, being unlapped for the 5 forefront Chevrolet of Conti. But Diaz going to stay out on the racetrack this lap and lead one more lap on the speedway.
He continues to be one of the few that stays out. You see Michael Conti starting to get his spots back. He's currently scored a P6. The fight right now is not for position. That's the 4 car of Timmy Hill, who's 17th and a lap down. Fond Machine's going to be able to easily go to the inside. Timmy gives him some extra room also. So Conti will be able to complete all of that. And looking at the way all of this is cycled through, Logan Clampett in the number 46 machine may have been able to kind of avert our radar. Timmy pitted at lap 142, and he has in fact ended up in front of Michael Conti on this exchange of service. So Clampett picks up a position. Leahy's still going to, I think, assume the race lead, but one extra car in between the chaser and the car that will be chased is only good news, I would imagine, for the 24 campers. You see, Conti's already there on Clampett. He's got a ton of time to make a move with 46 laps to go, but any little bit that Logan Clampett wants to be stubborn and fight over that position for could be good for the 24 camper.
Absolutely, it could be. And when you look at it, the 5 of Michael Conti goes to the outside of Clampett. That's essentially the way they came down on the pit road, the earliest up near the front, as Clampett came down in between where Conti and Leahy did pit stop wise. But now, as you see it, the 46 of Clampett falling back compared to the 5 as Conti makes the move and pulls away from the 46 of Logan Clampett. Phil Diaz is still on the racetrack, and he's leading this thing by 1.3 seconds over Shelton. Shelton, you can see going down into turn number 3 now. Diaz still out on the racetrack, and I would think with Phil Diaz, you're hoping for a caution flag now to try to get some track position.
Yeah, that's certainly the objective, is to stay out, maybe catch a caution flag, because if you don't get a yellow, none of this is going to pay off. 55 splits the inside. You see another, what was the lead lap car is currently stuck a lap down. The 14th machine trying to get back through and fight all of this. So that'll be another position gain for Casey Kerwin, who had an issue. He's 5 laps down now in this race. But if Phil Diaz doesn't get a yellow, he's just throwing away lap times. His best lap of the race came obviously earlier on with a 23.4. He just ran a 25.9, so that's 2.5 seconds of fall off. He's stayed out 15 laps longer than some of the first cars that trickled down to the pit lane. That's 2.5 seconds nearly every single lap. It adds up. Now, you get a yellow, you look like a genius. And listen, when you get cars out there on old tires that are slow and the cars that are on fresh tires that are fast, you never know what might happen at Dover. So maybe a worthwhile gamble for the number 9 team. As he started 18th, we're kind of riding around there, not doing much. I think Shelton into number 12, damaged after starting way at the back. He still has stayed out, and he currently gets scored in P2. Why not make this call if you're those two?
I think you got to have to right now, and with Nick Shelton having a little bit of damage and trying to get into Homestead with a win, I think you got to do what you got to do right now in position number 2. But you look at Phil Diaz compared to Keegan Leahy. The last couple laps, Keegan has been about a second a lap faster than Phil Diaz. And then you look back to Michael Conti. Conti the last time by at a 24.15. Keegan Leahy at a 24.47. So there's 0.3 of a second there between Keegan and Conti, and there's less than a second between those two as you see Keegan Leahy. That's your battle for what is position number 3. Will probably be a battle for position number 1 when this all cycles through. And David Rattler's back there too, trying to mix it up with these guys. But this could potentially be a battle for the win right here that's on your screen. That's now a battle for position number 3. And oh, by the way, Phil Diaz has company and Nick Shelton for the lead, about 2 car lengths back is that 12 car.
The 12 car nearly wrecked it at turn 4. He got way sideways. You can see him about halfway down on the front straightaway where you expect drivers to be running up against the outside wall. So even though both of these drivers not going to be able to make it to the end without the assistance of a yellow, they're still battling for the race lead. But the fight for third is where you need to look, because Michael Conti is there. And again, about a 10-lap tire advantage by pitting more so on strategy with everybody else than the short pit by Keegan Leahy. Leahy needs to win this race if he wants to race for the championship and make the championship 4. And the 5, I think, is just going to have way too many laps to figure him out. You've only got to beat him on one quarter, and he's got 37 laps to do it. There's a block, though, as the 24 goes high at a turn 2.
And the 09 of David Rattler is here as well, trying to get by these two. A little bit fresher tires in these two, but you don't want to put yourself in that position to possibly ruin this little battle here that could potentially have championship implications among them. As you see Rattler on your screen, Conti battling with Leahy, gets that run off 2, points it to the inside, and they'll go side by side for that position. What is right now position number 3 on the running order, which could be a battle for the win potentially if this thing cycles out. Almost little contact off turn number 4. Conti continues to fight on the inside.
He continues to dig on the inside, and this could be the most critical battle for what will be a race win we've seen all season long. The 24 should have a better run off of the quarter on the outside, but are those tires going to be too good into the quarter for the 5 to get the gap? Off of turn 4, he will push up, and yes, sir, Michael Conti passes Leahy for what is 3rd position right now, but what is soon going to become the battle for the race lead, and that may be the 24's final nail in the coffin in the battle for the championship lead. As you watch the replay, slides high, got it done. 24 gave it everything he could. For the live points again, Keegan Leahy now outside looking in. As you get another on-board shot at this replay, just too good for the Fine Machine. Better tires, I think maybe a better race car, Tim, as well. It's a lot for the 24 to have had to overcome.
And oh, by the way, as they've been battling for position number 3, they've been catching the leaders. Phil Diaz is still on the racetrack as your leader. Nick Shelton right behind him. And then right behind them, right there's Conti as the 9 of Diaz goes to the inside, gets a little bit free off of corner number 4. That's definitely not going to help him keep the advantage that he has, because Michael Conti is about to bring the forefront number 5 to the front of the field. He goes to the inside of Shelton, and Phil Diaz, I believe, is going to allow him to race to the inside. Conti's got more grip with those new tires. Diaz has yet to be on pit road on this exchange. They'll come up at a corner number 4, and Michael Conti's number 5 will bounce to the top of the leaderboard. New leader, Michael Conti.
Michael Conti has officially once again assumed the race lead, and again, that's without Diaz or Shelton even having to come down pit road. So the cars passing him have pitted and caught up. That's just how faster they are. When you talk about fresh tires. So Conti to the point. Leahy's going to be able to clear both of them this time, and he will get second. Shelton finally throws in the towel. He'll pit. Phil Diaz, I assume, going to be back on the pit lane shortly, but Conti's going to check out. It's 0.8 of a second, and again, Conti's win so critical because he's already into the championship 4. So if you haven't been with us all night, you're wondering what the picture is. Conti already into the next round. Exact same situation for your race winner from 2 weeks ago in Matt Busa, as Diaz gets into the wall again, and he's really slow at a turn 4, and as long as he didn't wreck that car, we'll stay green without a yellow. But into tonight, it was Luza and Alfala based on points. Leahy was working with a 24-point disadvantage. The win would have moved him in and booted Ray Alfala out based on how they run. But with Michael Conti rejoining, there would be no new race winner, and it looks like it would be points courtesy of Luza and Alfala. Alfala's done a very good job, Tim, that I think gets lost a little bit in this run. He was 19th position, and at that point, he was 19th. Nick Ottinger was 7th. They would have been in a virtual tie for the final transfer position. Ottinger hasn't gone anywhere. He's maintained 7th. But Ray Alfala is now P11. He's done a stellar job at getting critical points to have a little bit of insurance here.
But look who's in second and is faster than the leader right now. Bobby Zielinski in position number 2. Last time by was a 10th quicker than Michael Conti and has been around the same ballpark lap times as that number 5 of Conti. If Zielinski can get by the 5 of Conti and win this race, he would be in the final 4 after having a subpar first 3 races of this round. he would lock himself in via a win and would eliminate his teammate in Ray Alfala should that be the way it goes, because Ryan Loser right now running in position number 4. He would be in on points, but Bobby Zalenski the last couple laps has been quicker than Michael Conti. We still have another, 26 laps to run, but the weight on Zalenski's shoulders has to be getting a little bit heavier, knowing that he has to win, and he is this close to possibly winning to get himself in to the Homestead Miami Speedway. Once again, quicker that time by a 24.76 for Zalenski for a 24.79 for Michael Conti. So 3/100s quicker, but you've got time to get up there. And oh, by the way, Phil Diaz, what's by your leader? Or check that David Rattler.
Yeah, he wants to get by. It's not a battle for position, and the difference between Conti and Zalenski is only a 1-lap difference. Conti actually pitted before Zalenski did by 1 lap. So I guess technically Zalenski's got a tad bit fresher tire. Certainly 1 lap, I don't think it'd make the same difference that when we were comparing Leahy to Conti, you know, the 9-lap or 10-lap short pit did. But if Zalenski's able to hold on to this, then Keegan Leahy might be kicking himself thinking, if I didn't do the short pit, I might have had a chance, because Zalenski and Leahy both in the identical situation in points, more than 24 back, needing a win. At this juncture, it does not look like Keegan Leahy's going to win this race. Of course, a caution flag could come out, and you never know what happens on a restart, but he is continuing to fade in P4, and Bobby Zalenski is the fastest car on the racetrack. The question is he going to be able to make up enough time? That last lap, Conti with a 24.860. It was an 8.54 for Zalenski. That's good, but not good enough, with only 22 laps to go this time by.
I think with the way this race is trending, Bobby Zalenski will be there. The question is, does he have enough to get by Conti? And oh, by the way, if we do get a caution flag in these final 20 laps, we've seen Keegan Leahy be really good on the short run, but he's also needed a little bit of track position to help him out. So a caution flag here in the next 15 laps or so to come with inside 10 laps to go would be fairly interesting. But I think if this thing stays green, Bobby Zalenski is going to play a role in this one. We'll just see how big of a role it is, whether it's a second place role or whether it's going to victory lane and going to Homestead Miami Speedway. But right now, Michael Conti out in front and continues to hold down the fort. And who knows, Conti might have been saving something here. It's still about 7/10 of a second back to Bobby Zalenski. And there's 1 lap car in between there and David Rattler, but he hasn't really done anything to really push the issue right now, other than trying to push Mike Conti maybe a little bit harder to try to get a little bit of a bigger lead behind them. No pressure from behind for position number 3. It's about 2 seconds back to Ryan Luzy. You saw him there at the corner of the screen. He's comfortable all by himself right now. He's got about a second back to Keegan Leahy, and it looks like he's a little bit slower than the leaders by about a 0.5 a lap.
Yeah, so we'll see how all of that plays in as they continue to stretch things out, and how far down the scoring pylon Leahy is going to finish. Again, second place might as well be a 29th, because without a win, I don't see it happening for the drive of the 24. But watching these intervals up front, Conti has certainly balanced things out a tad bit. And, that Onada Rattler, again, the white and red car in the middle there, not for position. Rattler was scored last time by 4 laps down in 18th position, heavily damaged. I do think Rattler is faster, or at least was faster than Conti, because he pitted after him. He caught up to the back of the 5 pretty quickly, but I think it's just doesn't want to get in the way. He doesn't want to go side by side with the 5 and risk an issue. And if Zalenski can continue to close, he's going to be the sandwich in a critical championship battle for the race win. That is a big if, though, because again, Bobby Zalenski's intervals are still good. A majority of them have been in his favor, but like last time, it was only 3/1000ths of a second. That one 4/100ths of a second. He's making up little bit by little bit, but he's got to go. 16 laps remain on the round of 8, and it needs a little bit extra. Zalenski needed a win to move on.
He needs a few more laps like the last one that he had, in hopes that Conti does about the same thing that he's done the last few laps by. Conti will come up at a 4 this time, and we'll put in a lap of 25.01 to Bobby Zalenski's lap of 24.93. So there's about a 10th or so on that lap to get it within 0.6 of a second, but he needs to continue to do that, and Conti, he'll be there, but again, he's got to get by Michael Conti. Obviously, if you've got a shot at racing for a championship, I'm sure Bobby Zalenski might consider that if he does get up to Michael Conti, and I'm sure Conti will have that in the back of his mind too, but that lap right there gets a little bit closer to Michael Conti. I think he's going to be there, Evan. The question is how bad do you want it, and can you get to that back bumper to make it happen?
This 09's really going to be a problem for the 83 if he continues to sit there. Less than 15 laps to go from Dover. This final portion of tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Blue Def Diesel Exhaust Fluid, the #1 selling DEF in America. The 5 of Michael Conti looking for his second win on this round. It will not change his fate. We know he will battle in the championship 4 in 2 weeks' time. We also know that Matt Booster will be there, but Bobby Zalenski, off of what you could argue has been a career year for him, found victory lane on that single occasion, but has been so good week to week, has closed it in, and he can certainly taste the blood in the water because Michael Conti is not that far in front. It's only 4/10 now.
And you saw that little battle on your screen. Michael Guest was able to get by Keegan Leahy. Keep a half eye on that one. Logan Clampett, Nick Ottinger. If something is to happen there and Ray Alfaro is to lose a couple more positions, Nick Ottinger might be in that championship contention, but some things need to happen there in order to make that happen. Currently, Ray Alfaro would be in that final position if Bobby Zalenski cannot get up here and win this race. If Bobby was to get up here and win this one, that car right there might be on the outside looking in, but there's about 11 laps to go, and he's going to have to really get up on the wheel, Bobby Zalenski, in order to get there. Michael Conti put about a 10th on him that last time by, almost 2 tenths on Bobby Zalenski. So that's one thing that Zalenski didn't want to do. He's got to hit his marks. He can't afford to miss them.
You can't afford any sort of a mistake at this point. Is going to be critical, and Zalenski struck back a tad bit. Again, it's very much been this 6 to 7/10 of a second difference. Now inside of 10 laps to go. 83 is going to start to get into a point where he's going to overdrive that car, and that's only going to hurt himself. Those little bit of increments to the positive can only be so good for so long. He knows what he needs to do, and now he's mixing it up. He's going high. He's trying to find different lines. He's trying to find some speed, but that race car can only physically go so fast. It's so easy at Dover with how tight you get coming out of turn 4 and kind of coming up and over the crest of the hill in turn 2 to get into the outside wall. If you give it too much, that onboard shot looked very good for him. He's not sawing on the wheel. He's not panicking yet, but he's going to get closer and closer to that point with every passing lap.
He lost time the last time to Michael Conti. This time by the number 5 forefront Chevrolet is going to be about status quo compared to where Zalenski has. Conti turned a 25-14 to a 25-13 for Zalenski, so that's not going to get it done. And we're almost to that point of no return, that if a caution flag does come out after about lap 195 or so, this race would end under the caution flag. So I'm sure Michael Conti's just trying to hit his marks. Bobby Zalenski trying to reel him in a little bit more. And oh, by the way, at this point, if he gets there, the 09 and David Rattler is there. I would think with David Rattler being involved in this series for so long, that if Zalenski was to get there, that Rattler would move out of the way. But he's got to get there first, and that seemed to be in his Achilles heel. He's gotten to about a half second back from your leader, and then he hasn't really been able to push any forward other than that.
He's kind of stalled out at this point, and the window of opportunity certainly getting smaller. Michael Conti going to take a big milestone this next time by. It'll be 5 laps left to go from Dover. Anything less than that, if a caution flag were to come out, it is as we like to refer to, I guess I should say, the point of no return. If with anything less than 5 laps, there is not enough time if a yellow were to come out to cycle the field and then restart this race. So Michael Conti, next flag you see is going to be the white flag if he gets that far, then to the checkered. But it's all up to him. I don't see any reason David Rattler tries to pass. So the 5 looks out in front of him, and he's got a good half a straightaway clear. The 5 looking good right now for what would be a second win in the 4 weeks on this playoff, and of course might put Conti at the top of the list of favorites headed into Homestead. If he can close this out, worked so hard all season, Tim, to get in a position to break through to victory lane. Finally got it in that playoff opener at Darlington, and has looked stellar ever since.
And this 83 car, Zalenski's kind of given up a little bit. He gave up about 2 tenths the last time by. Adam Gilliland was on his back bumper the last shot that we have. Here's Christian Chalner trying to get by Keegan Leahy. Indeed, that is a battle for position. It's for position number 7 right now. Chalner will get by Leahy will fall back. So Bobby Zielinski was strong at the end of this one, looked like he was going to grab a win, and he falls back. Keegan Leahy looks so strong at the start of this one, and he's going to fall back now. Nick Ottinger is probably going to be on the outside looking in for points because Ray Alfala is running in position number 12 right now. There's not enough positions in between there, and Michael Conti in the 5 is looking to just drive away with this thing and put himself as the favorite heading to Homestead. So for Zielinski, Ottinger, and Leahy, it might be too little too late for this round. We'll find out in another lap and a half.
Yeah, Zielinski's fallen off incredibly. He might not even hang on to second as Lusa closes in, and a big slide from the 6 machine, but Zielinski's lost a ton of time. It is going to be a white flag in the air. Second to last time off for the quarter for the number 5 of Michael Conti. He really wasn't sure, I think, coming into tonight, knowing that his fate was already determined, just how big of a factor he would play in the names that were going to make it into the championship 4. But when it comes down to it, he's the one that plays spoiler. He'll snatch a ticket to Homestead away for the driver of the number 83 machine, and it'll be his second win in 4 weeks. Michael Conti wins from Dover, second on the round of 8, and he'll head to Homestead in search of a second championship, arguably as the favorite.
Ryan Luza is able to get by Zielinski for second, and what might have been for Bobby Zielinski finishes in 3rd. Nick Ottinger finishes in 5th, and Ray Alfala will come home in 12th. So unofficially, it'll put Ray Alfala in. It'll put Ryan Luza, who finished 2nd, in. It'll put Nick Ottinger out by about 5 points or so, and Keegan Leahy, Bobby Zielinski, and Nick Shelton will be on the outside looking in, but it's this guy here that's going to light it up on the front straightaway. He tames the monster here at Dover and gives him a little kiss on the inside on that rear end of the forefront number 5, but Michael Conti is going to go to victory lane, and you'd think he'd have to be the favorite heading into Homestead in 2 weeks.
He's been running at his best since these playoffs started. He celebrates on the front straightaway as he gets set to fight for what would be a second career title. He'll have an opportunity alongside 3 other drivers. 2 weeks' time, Homestead, Miami. You are not going to want to miss that one. But as he gets a lot of smoke going on the front straightaway, we look top to bottom at tonight's RaceSpotTV full race results. It is a checkered flag for the 5 of Conti. Ryan Luza is, as Tim mentioned there, slides in to steal second. Bobby Zielinski, good night, P3, but he's going home. Not enough, as he will miss out on the final round of the playoffs. Michael Guest 4th and Nick Ottinger 5th will be trackside with all of those drivers momentarily. Just behind them, Logan Clampett gets a solid result. P6 for the driver of the 46. Christian Challoner comes home in 7th, and Keegan Leahy really fell off on that aggressive short pit, a P8. Going to be well short of what he needed atop Matt Busa, who's going to Homestead, and Blake Reynolds, who rounds out your top 10.
Chris Shearburn finishes off at 11th. Ray Alfala unofficially locking in. Will finish in 12th this evening. Casey Tucker 13th. Joe Letteriello in 14th, and he's the first driver scored 1 lap down. Timmy Hill, great run in his return to the series, 15th. Nick Shelton in 16th. Adam Gilliland with a decent run here tonight, 2 laps down in 17th. David Rattler, Casey Kerwin, and Ryan Lowe complete your top 20.
Just behind them, Brian Schoenberg. All these drivers multiple laps down. As you can see, Schoenberg ends up 21st. I think he has 22nd, and Fayash as well, I believe, with 23rd also. Those are the drivers that were actually still running at the end of this one. But when you get to Fayash 24th, I think all these drivers were done. Davis 25th, Corey Vincent 26th spot. Jimmy Mullis comes home 27th with Taylor Hurst and Zach Novak 28 and 29. And he will round out our look top to bottom at the RaceSpotTV full race results. So we take one final opportunity to step aside, and when we come back, we will go trackside, talk with your top finishers, and introduce you to your championship 4. There's only one race left on the season, and it's the title fight that comes up in 2 weeks' time from Homestead, Miami. You're watching RaceSpotTV's coverage of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series on the iRacing Sports Network. Post-race coverage for the Monster Mile in just a moment.
And that's how restrictor plates reduce air intake. Moving on. Drag is one of your biggest competitors.
It slows you down, so make sure your car is streamlined.
And don't forget to get an edge with drafting.
Take advantage of the high-pressure air between your car and the one in front. Then you can slingshot.
You guys taking notes?
At the track, in the classroom, and online. Get special ticket offers for kids at NASCAR.com/KidsTix today.
Assist to the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Ray Alfala into the outside wall.
He's gonna pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's gonna get them all done with. What amazing
race lead to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is gonna touch in. Pit press sideways. What a save!
Look to the outside as Tronke goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
I tried this contact though.
And wide left of the racetrack. Chris Venner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact.
He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cutback here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Michael Schumacher, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
And welcome back live to the Dover International Speedway, where RaceSpotTV's coverage of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series continues tonight, now having completed 17 of 18 races on this 2018 calendar. Only the championship race remains ahead of us, and I'm sure we'll talk a lot about that as we welcome you into RaceSpotTV's post-race coverage. Myself, Evan Pasoko, Tim Terry, along with you, Hugo Luis downstairs. Michael Conti gets his second win of the playoffs, and he didn't need it, but I think it's going to be a big statement for the 5-car headed to Homestead. Trackside with him is Tim.
Mike Conti comes home with his second win of this playoff round, and Mike, you pretty much dominated the second half of this race. Let's talk about the long green flag run, and let's talk about the pit stop as well. Keegan Leahy calls the audible, comes in about 10 laps earlier than you. What was your strategy on that one, and what did you think when you saw that 24-car peel off?
Well, it was a little bit unnerving to see him pit so much before us, but Hastings at the beginning of the run said that we needed to go to the number, which was 146, and he mapped it out and, made the calculator smoke, and he told me that if we just were patient and waited to pit about 6 or 7 laps after everybody else did, we should be able to beat them at the end. And had a lot of good fortune there too. Pit crew was really good tonight. It was a nice change of pace to actually make up some time on pit road rather than lose it, so that was pretty cool. But pit stop was good, pit in was pretty good, pit out was good, didn't really get held up by traffic when I came out of the pits there. And Keegan, on the other hand, I think he had a little bit slower pit stop, and then he got held up a little bit behind some people. So that, plus having that much newer tires, really did it for us. He just didn't have anything to race with there at the end. And I knew that he was going to race really hard because winning tonight was his only way into the Final Four, but he didn't have it. So good job to him, good job to Bobby for getting back up there and running well again. But again, a huge thanks to Team Conti, Gil Force, and everybody that's worked on the car the last couple weeks. We've been phenomenal. I've said it, but I'll say it again. I have never had cars like this, and it is a pleasure to have cars that are this good. It makes us look a lot better. I'll just say that. But huge thanks to Forefront, Chaos Crew, everybody that jumped on board this year. We got off to a slow start, but we've made up for it, and we're going to be really strong going into Homestead.
You mentioned Keegan and Bobby had to win to get in to that final round. When you were out front, was there any pressure knowing that 83 was back there, trying to get up there and trying to take away that victory?
Yeah, I thought I drove the tires off of it. I had no clue that Zelensky was going to be that competitive there at the end. I mean, I knew he had speed, but I didn't know quite how much he had. So I wasn't even worried about him once we got out of the pits. I was solely focused on getting up to the 24 car. And, you know, I got up to Keegan. He raced me hard, but clean. But it definitely took some life out of the tires. And Hastings started calling out that the 83 was closing in a tenth a lap, half a tenth, another tenth, and it just kept shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. I was like, oh, man, I just drove the tires off this car and threw away the race. But I just kind of matched his line there the last run. If he'd go high, I'd try that, and vice versa. And eventually, I think we had the better car in the long run anyway and was able to gap him there at the end. But he put up a really good fight, too. It definitely was not easy tonight. Racing was awesome, really clean, tight racing. And we had a bunch of good guys in this field, and it was really cool to be able to run up front again and do well. So it's a huge confidence boost. We've already started working on Homestead, so we've got some good things as a baseline there. And I'm looking forward to racing it out in a couple weeks, and we'll just see what happens.
Before we let you go tonight, let's set up that finale in 2 weeks' time. It's going to be yourself, satellite teammate from Gale Force and Radicals, and Matt Busa, Ryan Luza, and Ray Alfala. Who are you more concerned about? What's your mindset going into it? Set up the finale in 2 weeks' time for our fans here on iRacing Live.
Yeah, I'm definitely I'm concerned. I mean, we've had arguably the best cars the last couple weeks, but you never know what's going to change with racing, whether it be NASCAR in real life or on iRacing in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze series. Things change constantly. People find speed, people find things in the setup, and all of a sudden somebody that was a tenth off is now a tenth ahead of you, and it's hard to foresee that. But with how quick Luz has been this year, and then obviously we all saw what he did last year, he's a threat. Busa is obviously going to be a threat, but there's a little bit less unknown with him because I know what kind of car he's going to have. We're going to work on it together, and I'm going to know what his pace is. But Luza and, of course, Ray, you can never count him out. We don't know what their lap times are. We don't know what the pace is going to be until pretty much the day of the race. So we're just going to go to work on it and try to find as much speed as we can. We'll get a good qualifying effort in there. We've been pretty good with that lately, too. And just hopefully we can put together a nice, smooth race like we did tonight. And if all goes well, I think we've got a really good shot at that 10 grand.
And if all goes like it did tonight, Michael Conti will be looking for that win at the Homestead Miami Speedway in the Forefront Chevrolet. Mike, we wish you all the best in 2 weeks' time. We'll see you then.
Thank you, Tim.
And Evan, I believe you've caught up with the driver that will be in that Final Four along with Michael Conti. Second place finisher here tonight, Ryan Luza.
Yeah, he came into tonight in a much better position, and just seeing if we have the driver of the number 6 machine standing by. Don't think we have Ryan at the moment, so we'll slide down an extra spot, catch up with the driver of the number 83 machine. It is a P3 for Bobby Zelensky. Bobby, congratulations. It's a solid finish, but I know that's not really the word you're looking for tonight because you came into this in a tricky situation. You needed to hit for the home run. You had to go for that race win to make up what into tonight was a 27-point deficit, and we look 25 laps to go, 20 laps to go in this race. You're closing in on Conti. Looked like you had a shot at it. Where did it go wrong?
Well, we just didn't have enough time to get there. Just didn't have quite the speed to get there. Lost a couple seconds under pit stops. I think I was just a little too conservative there. But when Conti had to race Keegan, I gained most of it back, and then I was slowly just catching him. Just ran out of time, but man, we gave it all we had, and that was a blast.
You know, you came into this, you had a good car. We certainly didn't see that though on the grid. You guys started way back in 19th position. What was the story behind that one? Certainly looked like starting behind the 8-ball didn't help.
Yeah, qualifying we had pretty cold conditions, and we hit the splitter really bad on our Q lap, and just yeah, had to come from the back. Which thankfully we had a hell of a race car. I mean, I haven't had a race car this good in like months, so I'm quite stoked about that. I'm quite stoked for Ray because I'm pretty sure he made it and might have found a couple things this week to help him win the title next week. So I'm happy about that. But it was a lot of fun just coming through the field. I mean, you make the best out of a bad situation. At least you have a lot of fun out of it,
Well, certainly, and it was a decently length green flag run to the end, including pit stops, so there was a little bit of leeway to give you guys something to play with. We saw Keegan was in a very similar situation with you. He had been running up front certainly a lot longer over the course of this night as you guys kind of peaked right at the end there. He goes for a short pit, puts him to the race lead, doesn't work out in the end. You guys pretty much stayed almost right on the dot with a 5-car. Was there any thought into either short pitting or staying out a little bit later, going for the tire advantage at the end? And it's always easy to armchair quarterback, but how do you feel like that move went? Do you feel like you guys ended up giving yourself the best chance you could?
Yeah, honestly, that was the best call we could have done. The only better part of that call would have been just doing a little bit more fuel, because at the end, the reason I didn't get second is I just had I was short on fuel, which was crazy, but I had been running the middle line most of the run and using more fuel, so we didn't calculate that quite right. So that would have been tears if I would have passed Connie and then ran out. So thankfully, no boo-boo really there. But that was the only thing wrong with that pit stop, is we just didn't put enough fuel in it and cost us a position, which it's not going to end up mattering. We needed the win. Honestly, I can't say, other than that, there's nothing else better this race could have gone for me. I think everything just about went my way. I think if I would have waited on Connie and pitted a lap after him, I would have had passed more cars that pitted 5 laps before, and that would have held me up. So, honestly, I'm happy with how it went. It went how it went. We had a couple bad rounds in the beginning of the playoff. That put us in this giant hole to have to win, but that's life, that's racing, and we'll come back next year.
I mean, certainly any time you can get a third-place finish on a Tuesday night, it's good, but not quite good enough for you guys this evening to look back on what's been a very good season for you, and we are not done yet. There's still one more race to go out there, park at a victory lane, and maybe prove a point as we head into next season. But what is the objective going forward? What is there still left to get out of this year?
Well, there's one race, and that'd be awesome to win it, but there'd be a little bittersweet knowing if I would have made it, and then I would have won the title. But we're just going to go there, try to make the best set we can for Ray, because definitely want my teammate to win, definitely want to get VRS to win. We want to beat those pesky other guys. GFR Connie team has been on fire. They've been doing great. And, Luza he's always the favorite in my opinion in these playoffs. So we're going to do our best for Ray, try to win the title.
We certainly wish you guys the best of luck, but we'll let you jet out of here. Bobby, what we got you? Anybody else you want to say hi to?
Yeah, I just want to thank Virtual Racing School and the car, all the support. BRS supports me, Ray, and Keegan. You go there for coaching, learn from the best drivers in each class, F1, dirt, all of it's there. So thanks to them. Thanks to United Western Industries, New Age Metal Finishing, Duval Creative for the paint. Gotta say that again, Duval Creative. Delonte Ballard for spotting me. Matt Bontempi, who's like a recent addition to the playoff team. He's been crewing me, so big thanks to him. He's been awesome to work with on setups. And we'll see you next week and then next year.
We always appreciate you giving us some time, Bobby. I know it's not what you were looking for, but it's still a good result. It's been a great season. Congrats again, and we'll certainly catch you next week if we don't get an opportunity to talk, though. There's always next year, and we're sure that you're going to be in the hunt for that one. So either way, we'll see you down the road.
Thank you.
That is your third-place finisher tonight from Dover. Continue to slide things down. A good result for Michael Guest, who comes some fourth in this. He was one of the bigger movers tonight, who climbed up into the top 10. Truck side with him is Tim.
Yeah, Michael Guest comes home with position number 4. Great top 5 effort here this evening. Walk us through a night here at Dover. Obviously, a couple of 30-ish lap runs at the start, and then a long green flag run to end this race. Did you guys anticipate that long run at the end?
Yeah, kind of. The beginning of the race went all right, I guess. We had a really good short run setup, and it just kind of died after 30 laps. So the caution actually helped us to adjust the setup and stuff. So after we were able to get it tuned in, we were able to go through the field a little bit more, and just kind of got us up to the 5th and actually, 4th position to finish it.
Looking back here at this season, 4th top 5 of the year, you have to be happy with the season, but we're sitting 16th, I believe it is, in the point standings. What would you be happy with point standings wise leaving the Homestead Miami Speedway, and is this where you thought you would be at the start of the season?
Well, of course I was hoping to do better. I wrecked in a lot of the first half of the season, so it's been a long uphill battle since, and honestly, just to make top 20 and to be locked into next season feels great now. I've had quite a few runs that were top 5 or even better material, and I'm just glad that all the work paid off for the season.
So with that pressure trying to lock into the top 20 off, we head to the Homestead Miami Speedway in 2 weeks. Everybody's fighting for something in that race, and I know you're a little ways out of 12th, but still mathematically possible to get into the top 12, get some iRacing credits out of this season. Let's preview the Homestead Miami Speedway. Can we get this 54 car into victory lane?
Well, that's the hope, of course. We're going to work pretty hard at it and hopefully end the season on a really strong note.
Beautiful looking race car. Who's on the side of it?
Yeah, I got to thank, first of all, the Dead Zone guys. I just joined their team the last week. I couldn't quite get their logo on the car for this week. JD for the good, awesome looking car, as always, and RaceSpotTV for being on the side.
And it's great to catch up with Michael Guest, finishing in position number 4 here. Congratulations. We'll see you at Homestead.
Thanks guys for putting on the broadcast.
And now I believe Evan has caught up with Nick Ottinger, who finishes in position number 5 and just a little bit shy out of this one. And actually, I'll slide over here and grab Nick while Evan gets ready for post-race. Nick, let's talk about this race. I know it's not the finish that you wanted to championship-wise, but still had a strong race car.
Yeah, Tim, we got a little short tonight, obviously, but you kind of got to be a little disappointed not transferring to the Final Four. But, I mean, it just wasn't meant to be for us this round. Our 05 team definitely put a heck of an effort tonight, but this wasn't meant to be. We had our issues at Indy that didn't help us with some netcode deal, and tonight where Ray was able to get a little more spots near the end of the race, and got to tip a hat to Team Connie, Mike Connie. I mean, he went up there and won the race, and we just had a little issue with being on the splitter for the majority of the run, and we finally fixed that for the last run and were able to run top 5. But tip a hat to Ray as well for transferring to the Final Four again this year. May not be the quickest, but he got there again on points, and hopefully we can get Mikey or Busa a win at Homestead and get one of them a championship.
So what is your mindset heading into Homestead? Obviously trying to help out setup lines, trying to build something to get them into the championship, but what is your mindset heading in, trying to lock down 5th in points? Do we see you get another victory if you're close enough to the end of it? What do you think about that Homestead race?
I mean, every race I go out there, I try to win, no matter who's in front of me, who's behind me, or whatever. That's just my mindset, just do the best I can every race, and let the cars fall where they should. I will say, if it's a teammate I'm racing, I'm not going to race them as hard at Homestead, but I'm still going to go for a win, and hopefully we build a good enough car for one of them to probably outrun me. I like to get a win. They have ours ran good at Homestead. Just maybe you'll see the 05 fighting for a win there in 2 weeks.
You've got the Chaos crew on the side of the car, Richmond Raceway. Who else makes it happen to get you to the racetrack every week?
Well, I want to thank Matt Holden and Justin Weaver for being on the team this year, being crew chief and spotter. Weaver was definitely in my ear a lot tonight, keeping me updated on times. People were running in front of me and stuff. And I want to thank Ream. I want to thank Rude. Definitely want to thank all the guys at Gale Force, Hastings, Brown, Schoenberg for all the help they've done in testing for Dover tonight. And I want to thank RaceSpot for putting on this show again, and hopefully we can close it here in 2 weeks.
That's Nick Ottinger, not where he wanted to finish points-wise, but still comes home with a very solid top 5 finish here at Dover. And Evan, that closes off the first playoff round. We've got one more round to come, and it's going to be one that we hand out $10,000 to the champion.
It's going to be fun at Homestead, same format as we saw a year ago, but there is no dwindling down through 4 rounds. It is the round of 8, which is now complete, And then we head into the Championship 4, and we've been talking about it. Now let's take a look at it. Here is your playoff grid exiting tonight with a round of 8 now complete. And what we talked about, Nick Ottinger trying to make some noise. He was able to close a bit, but not enough. Alfalo will advance on that final transfer spot by 5 points. We knew Luza was going to be in without a different winner, so it is Conti and Busa in on wins. Luza in on a large amount of points. Interestingly enough, despite the 2 wins for Michael Conti and the win for Busa, Luza actually gets the most points out of anybody in the open round of the playoffs, so he'll head there. And of course, Alfalo looking for a record 4th title. Nick Ottinger just misses the cut, and it was a very similar situation for Keaton Leahy and Bobby Zelensky. They both needed a win. They both come home 18 points to the negative. Of course, tonight was not the evening that Nicholas Shelton needed, and he ends up even further down and into the gray, not advancing into the next round. So there's your Championship 4. Couple of drivers in there who have won this before. In fact, a majority of them, as Luza looks to defend his title. Tim, the only driver ever to defend a title, Ray Alfalo, because it's the only driver who has ever won this thing multiple times. Of course, Alfalo's championships coming in 2011, 2012, and most recently 2016. Michael Conti also got a title in there in 2014. So the only driver racing who has not been in this position before and succeeded, Matt Busa. He's got a crack at his first, and that'll certainly be fun to watch.
I think you have to consider him the underdog, considering those 3 that have won championships, and also considering the way Matt Busa has qualified the last few weeks. He's going to have a better qualifying effort at Homestead should he want to win the championship against those 3. Michael Conti has had probably the fastest race cars of those 4 that we've seen, and he's mentioned in the last couple of races. Ryan Lewis has been quick, was quick here this evening when it counted at the end, and I think Ray Alfalo, he's been consistent enough to get himself into this picture, but now he's going to have to get back up on the wheel and win his 2nd race of the season, and it's going to have to be at that finale to win the $10,000. So I think you have to look at Conti, you have to look at Ryan Luza as potentially the 2 favorites. Matt Busa, Ray Alfalo might be on the outside looking in, but it's one race. We're going to crown a champion, and whoever finishes in front of those 4 is going to win that championship. But oh, by the way, they're fighting for the top 12 to get some iRacing credit and some money at the end of it. Top 20 to lock themselves into this series next year, so you don't have to go to the Pro Series. There's lots to fight for in 2 weeks' time, not just a championship, lots on the line, and somebody's going to win the final race of the season to boot.
And they don't technically have to win that race to win the championship. The way that this has gone down, Tim, in the last couple of years is those drivers practice so much, they bring so much to the racetrack that it is almost guaranteed to get to come down to that, where it is going to be one of those 4 drivers most likely battling for the race win. And, you know, it doesn't matter if the highest finisher of that group is 12th or 1st. You just have to beat those other 3 drivers. There are no bonus points or anything else that matter at this point. And to talk about Homestead, as we preview that when it comes up in 2 weeks' time, it is a 1.5 miler, but of course it is the only oval of that category here on the calendar. It is a very fun racetrack. It has played host to the season finale all through the years, and we will crown our 9th champion there in 2 weeks' time. That's a very good racetrack.
And when you look back, and something that Michael Conti had said in his post-race interview, we asked him about, was Zelensky in the back of your mind when you were fighting for this win here tonight? And he said yes. And there's a driver that wasn't necessarily going to spoil the party. Now, if you look next week and you see a driver behind you that could potentially be the difference between $10,000 and finishing in 2nd and picking up the 2nd place check, the mind games are going to be going on over the next 2 weeks. The prep has already begun. This is going to be a very exciting finish to this season. 4 well-deserving drivers. It's going to come down to 1 that's going to win it, and you might even see somebody that's outside that top 4, as you mentioned, Evan, go to victory lane in that final race at Homestead and get that momentum for 2019.
So much has happened in the 17 races up until now. So much still to come, though. The biggest race of the season is next, and we look forward to that one as the round of 8 falls into our rear view mirror. As always, it's our duty to thank all of the folks behind the scenes to make these broadcasts possible. Isfed Ballo for the camera angles, broadcast CG done by Simon Grossman, Kevin Papey, their entire team, Andy Waters on the graphics, of course, for Will Vincent, Hugo Louise, Drew Adams, and everybody else at RaceSpotTV and at iRacing, and for your team tonight. For our producer downstairs, Hugo Louise, for Tim Terry, and myself, Evan Pasoko, want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate Michael Conti. He's headed to the Championship 4, but of course, the tip of the cap, Conti, Busa, Luza, Alfalo will be your championship competitors as we get set to return in 2 weeks' time. It'll be Tuesday, October the 23rd for the virtual Homestead Miami Speedway. Our Championship 4 will fight for a $10,000 purse, and we will crown a 9th ever champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series. You can catch that race right here on RaceSpotTV and the iRacing Esports Network. Again, that's Tuesday, October the 23rd from Homestead, Miami. We will see you then. Until next time, good night from Dover.